Отже, друзі, доброго дня!
So, dear friends, good day. We're really pleased to welcome each and every one of you at our every year's forum Design for Change. We're really happy to have this opportunity to welcome you here in this room, and we're really pleased to welcome all of our participants who are also joining us online. So, by the way, there's going to be more than 200 people today on the forum. Just imagine that, 37 cities, towns and villages of our country. This is fantastic. And I'm sure that during these 2 days, you will have the greatest opportunities to talk to people, to meet new people, and of course, to collaborate and network in the best of way. Because this forum is being organized to support the civic activity Engage that has been already performed by USAID and has been implemented by PACT Ukraine. But if you have already been in the Engage forum, or at least have heard about the forums that we support, you might have known that this forum is not about the traditional formats of collaboration. It's always about the innovative approaches. It's always about the new tools that we're about to share with you today. And we are sure that our forum is going to be definitely inspiring for you, is going to inspire you to create the new, very useful tools and products for your communities. So thus, dear friends, let us try throughout these 2 days to try to design those changes for each out of the 37 communities. To start our forum, to officially start our forum, we would like to invite Marc Ellingstad for the welcoming speech, the deputy head of the mission of USAID in Ukraine and Belarus. Please, Marc, the floor is yours.
Good morning, colleagues. It's great to see so many of you today, and our colleagues who are joining us online. It's wonderful that we're here together for this event. The work that civil society does today is more important than ever. And this is very timely. Just a month ago, U.S. President Joe Biden announced the Summit for Democracy, which will take place later this year in December. And that worldwide summit, that leader-level summit, is being designed around the same themes as this forum is going to be working on over the next 2 days. That democracy can improve the lives of people and address the greatest problems facing the world. Since Ukraine's independence, we have witnessed active citizens who have advanced Ukrainian democracy by fearlessly fighting corruption, thoughtfully overseeing government decision-making, and tirelessly advocating for community priorities. Today, the role of civil society is more important than ever, from guarding the rights of citizens and protecting health to serving the everyday needs of their communities. And with the continuing battle for justice reform, we see the clear role that civil society plays at the national level and, of course, at the community level. The COVID-19 pandemic has presented challenges for us. It's forced us to reimagine the way we interact with one another and with government institutions. Thankfully, it did not diminish the readiness of Ukrainian citizens to engage with their communities. Over the past year, 1/3 of citizens participated in various civic activities aimed at transforming the future of their neighborhoods. This is a direct result of civil society closely working with citizens to curb corruption, make well-informed choices about public health and political life, and provide basic necessities to the most vulnerable. At USAID, we believe that a vibrant, professional, and resilient civil society is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. We remain strongly committed to supporting civil society organizations to develop the skills necessary to respond to the needs their citizens require. USAID's Engage activity strives to develop a sustainable and sound civil society that is able to design, reform, and most importantly, engage citizens in democratic processes. Over the next couple of days, you will have the opportunity to unleash your creativity, think outside the box, and learn how to engineer social change centered around the true essence of democracy, people and their needs. This forum will give you the opportunity to share ideas with peers, colleagues, and average citizens to discover effective solutions to pressing issues. I sincerely believe that this forum will also expand your leadership potential and motivate you to undertake new projects, forge unexpected partnerships, and create innovative proposals. Finally, I hope this forum will arm you with critical knowledge that helps you ignite positive change in your communities. I wish you all an insightful forum and look forward to working with you to design and implement a promising better future for the people of a democratic Ukraine. And thank you very much. And finally, a big, big thank you to our organizers today at Engage. Thank you very much.
Щиро дякуємо, пане Ellingstad, за такі
We're really grateful for all of those great words. And dear friends, I would like to invite our next speaker for the next welcoming word. Please welcome Roland Kovats, the director of the Engage program.
Ranko, Shano Vintoniv.
Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen.
Speak English myself too. I see you're not wearing earpieces, meaning you all understand English. It's fantastic. I'm very, very pleased to be with you today. Welcome one more time. And as Marc said, and thank you again, Marc, for a warm welcome. As Marc said, we are here for a very good reason. You are here for a very good reason. You are representatives of Ukraine's society, not only civil society organizations, but you individually as citizens, you are here as active members of society. We have a couple of occasions why we're here. I'm going to run through a few things. First of all, we are beginning to celebrate the 5th year anniversary of the USAID Engage activity. 5th year, and we're beginning it, which requires a little bit of explanation further. One, the actual birthday is going to be on the 1st of October, so we're a little bit early to celebrate. But second, our real and first sort of public outreach back a little less than 5 years ago was in December. So this is kind of a heads up that in the next couple of months we will be celebrating together with you our 5th year anniversary. But also we are, as you may know, PACT and USAID has been working together on civil society support in Ukraine almost 13 years now. It's a very lucky number. So I'm wishing you at least another 13 years of exciting work with USAID. When we launched this activity back 5 years ago, we understood that there are some challenges in civil society organizations. And these challenges some may call the crisis of representation or lack of constituency, as some may call it. But we also understood, and we still understand, that in Ukraine and around the world, there are truly active, committed, passionate citizens who are willing to take the extra mile and to do the legwork to actually bring about the changes they are striving for. A few examples from our past 5 years, if you allow me, that kind of gives a picture of how we feel Engage is about. Think of a small town, for example, where people, if you ask them about 5 years ago, they would say they do not produce any communal waste, which of course is nonsense. But thanks to some individuals, a small group of people who went in this city, basically every single door, knocking on them and talking to them about how they manage their waste, what happens to the stuff that they throw out. Several years on, in this town, it's not only a local policy to sort communal waste, but it's also funded directly from the local budget. But what is local budget and public money? In our times, not yours because you're much younger than I am, but in my times, public money was everyone's money. Nowadays, we all know that it's taxpayers' contribution to the state. Now, our children, who are lucky enough to have been able to grow up in a new era, a democratic era of Ukraine, they know this from the get-go, thanks to Engage's partners, both governmental and non-governmental, that there is now an opportunity to, throughout the school years, learn what civic duties, civic responsibilities, citizens' rights are, and what we generally call civic education. Finally, an example that I believe many of you may have been involved with, and I hope you were, that goes back to over a decade of advocacy and pushing for reforms. More than a decade ago, if you may recall, there was something called piano players in the Verkhovna Rada, also known as Ukraine's parliament. And I'm sure many of you know what I mean by piano players. Something that MPs, members of the parliament, instead of voting on their own right, task somebody else to vote for them. A decade on, more than a decade on, only since this spring, this practice has been physically eliminated from the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. And this is thanks to all of you, and all of you who were member of the movement that began some years ago, known as Chesno. In that small city, Enerhodar, not only civil society activists have been able to push policies, but also Viktor Bunchev, who's unfortunately not with us because he's now an official, he's in fact the one who is responsible for communal waste, gathering management. And this also is an example and lesson for all of us, is that a few years from now, you may be in the position to take responsibility for these decisions. You may be in the decision to be the one that all of us will be knocking on his or her door and asking for changes. So be prepared also, not just to demand something, but also be part of the change and take responsibility for that. This is what we think Engage really is about. Sustainable changes for, with, and about citizens. We also celebrate tomorrow, speaking of sustainable change and citizens, International Day for Democracy. Democracy is all about people, all about citizens. But it's not about the majority only. Liberal democracy's key feature is that they are inclusive. They are think of those who are unable to come to our events, who are unable for any physical disabilities to take the same part in society, who are unable to be heard because there are certain parts of society who are trying to exclude them. Liberal democracy is about inclusion. And I'm very, very pleased that you could come together today. But I'm now talking to those who are only looking at the screens. There's one screen over there. I would very much like all of you on the screens to be as active participants of these 2 days as those of us who are in this room. So those of you who are in the room, please make sure you include those people who are, for various reasons, couldn't come today and be here with us. Lastly, really, what is ahead of us for these 2 days? First and foremost, we hope that we will be able to work together and it's really going to be work, to find out and learn a little bit how to better understand citizens' demands, how to better understand their dreams and desires, and provide the solutions that they're really looking for. We will do this something called human-centered design or design thinking, and I'm really, really pleased to give you the teaser that I believe we have the best human-centered design gurus of Ukraine with us for these 2 days. I'm pretty excited about that. Second of all, solutions that you come up with, hopefully, will be as innovative, exciting, and promising that we will be able to engage, that is, recommend for support to USAID for funding for the years to come. We have actually 3 opportunities for you to consider today, tomorrow, and the days after to submit your innovative, exciting ideas. We call these calls for application. I hope you all are aware of those. You will be able to see some QR codes where you can directly go and look at these calls for proposals. But again, the key thing is that what you design today, tomorrow, may actually get funded if it works out. And really, very lastly, I said tomorrow is International Democracy Day. Please mark your calendars. Those of you also on the computers, then you can go immediately to Google Calendar and Outlook calendars and all other calendars, and block your time for next year and next year. Our event hasn't happened for 2 years for obvious reasons, but we do intend to continue our annual Engage Forum. So please be ready, save the date in 2022 and in 2023 to gather around International Democracy Day again to celebrate your achievements, the achievements that we feel ownership about as well, and something that you actually will hear right after me a little bit about. So without further ado, I wish you a very productive 2 days, and I look forward to all your exciting ideas after these 2 days. Have a great forum. Thank you, folks.
Дякую, Роланде, за
Thank you very much, Roland, for this inspiring work. Thank you very much for announcing our opportunities that we're going to recollect again. And thank you very much for inviting us for our next forums. But let us now start with the working part of our today's forum. As Roland has said, the Engage program has already been working for 5 years in Ukraine. And for the very first part of our today's forum, up till lunch, our team is going to share our outcomes in the results of this 5 years of work. But we're definitely going to promise you that it's not just going to be the information provided to you. We're going to be providing, making this presentation very helpful, so you will be able to use it in the design of your own projects. And please remember that we really wanted to inspire you for the change. We really wanted to help you to do that. And we've asked our friends and partners, and in the first part of our forums, they're going to share their very practical cases. They're going to tell us in what way the elements of the human-centered design has helped them to create the new relevant products that are really needed by the real people. Because if you might remember from our program, and as already been said by Roland, that the second part of our forum is going to be then provided for the human-centered design of the products, and we'll have the greatest team of professionals headed by Alexander Akimenko is going to guide you through that. By the way, friends, some of you, I think most of you, have already had the opportunity to watch online lectures. Who have been to the online lecture or have watched it? Okay, great. Good. It means that the next day and a half you will be able not only to work and communicate with one another, but will be able to design those ideas, as Roland has said, that might be even supported at this forum. forum as well. So, dear friends, we're going to start with what we have promised. Our engaged team is going to share the results not only of our achievements, but our joint achievements, because right now in our video presentation by our team, I am sure that you're going to hear some results and your impacts as well. So please let us take a look at the video presentation for the engaged team for the 5 years.
Do you recognize this place? It takes a good deal of time, patience and knowledge to grow the grass like this. Are 5 years enough for the roots to get strong and sprouts to reach high? In 2017, we started Engage with an ambitious goal to increase citizens' awareness of and engagement in civic activities at the national, regional, and grassroots levels. We zoomed in to empower each person's voices and help them to take the path of change in their communities, become more demanding towards authorities, and develop a sense of ownership of their country. Sustainable solutions, policy changes, and a vibrant civil society are part of our legacy. We provided long-term support to 8 institutional partners and awarded 172 sub-awards to 137 civil society organizations across Ukraine. The share of local grants is as much as 50% in our portfolio. Engage selected 4 eastern and southern regions to support the grassroots activism, reform coalitions, and engage constituencies into active civic life. Number of policy changes effectively advocated by engaged partners both at the national and local level is 90. In cooperation with the reanimation package of reforms, Engage provided support to 18 local coalitions across Ukraine, consisting of 169 civil society organizations. Engaged partners initiated coalitions pursuing civil society-led agendas across different areas, including judiciary and anti-corruption reform. They combined their efforts to prevent the rollback of anti-corruption legislation in Ukraine. The reform roadmap to track the governance change and the court's renewal has been developed and actively advocated. The total number of citizens involved in engaged supported civic coalitions and initiatives is over 35,000. Civic education is a backbone of our commitment to the development of resilient civil society. Every year, around 60,000 of 10th graders from all over Ukraine take a mandatory course on civic education developed with the support from USAID Engage. 2021 will mark the 2nd year in a row when the Global Teacher Prize is awarded to the teachers of civics, specifically designed category to honor them. But it's not only the opportunity to deepen knowledge of state functioning and reforms, human rights, and civic activism. Through 2017-2021, engaged partners across Ukraine conducted over 1,500 events and activities, engaging 43,000 of Ukrainians. We tapped into innovative and out-of-the-box solutions to reach out to the citizens. Our cooperation with music festivals allowed to reach thousands of Ukrainians. We have partnered with major Ukrainian commercial music festivals, including Atlas Weekend, Zahid Fest, Leopolis Just Fest, and Hortitsa Fest. Each event featured prominent civil society organizations and mainstreamed social inclusion and eco-awareness. We are proud to support the Prides, which become a regular celebration of equality and diversity in Ukraine. In 2021, we took a step further and launched an experimental TV edutainment show that took civic activism to the screen of 735,000 viewers. All these activities turned out fruitful, as we recorded an incremental increase in awareness of and engagement in civic activities among Ukrainians. The level of civic literacy among Ukrainians grew from 8% in 2017 to 16% in 2020. Citizens became more engaged into the life of their communities. Their involvement surged from 25% to 32%. We are set to continue for another 2 years and sustain our efforts in developing strong civil society. We gained much knowledge and know that the seeds we sow fell on a kindly soil. But how can one grow the seeds strong enough? The key to success is simple. Design the change, innovate, and engage. And we will be happy to continue supporting you in this journey, promising better future to democratic Ukraine and to its people.
Друзі,
So, dear friends, this round of applause is not only to the Engage program, but also to each and every person who has had their impact to those achievements that we have mentioned. You know that those are actually our impact, and we're really proud of it. And by the way, we're so proud. And this is an Echo Cup signed by Alina, wishing all best good health. I will tell you why. So we're so proud of our joint efforts that we have even prepared the very specific competition for you about our achievements. So, dear friends, who knows or who remembers or who have listened to Serhiy closely how many policy changing on the local and national level have been supported by the Engage program? 90. Who said 90? Serhiy Polyansky said 90. Okay. Who was the next to say 90? So yes, the cup from Alina is for you. Okay, dear friends, we have a second question of our competition. That's not the only cup that we have to share. So, okay, let me ask you the next question, because one of the directions that we have been working and we have been working productively and will continue to be working is the support of the coalition. And part of you have already become the part of the coalitions that we support. So, what are the number of local coalitions that have been supported by the Engage program? No, not 35? I have heard 18 from that side. 16? 9? 18. 18. Yes, dear friends. 18 local coalition. Can I ask for another cup to pass it to people who had hold their attention? And I will just give you a couple of words about those cups. Maybe you have been participating in the Echo and Save the Planet initiative. So this is the campaign on raising the awareness of the citizens about the resilient life. And Alina was the ambassador of this campaign, and she has left her signatures for our partners and friends on those cups. Okay, let us get to the next part. Before, I've already said that we really want to have some of the impacts from our activities would be also useful for you for design of your project. So that is why for the next presentation, I would like to invite Olena Rybiy, the senior programs professional from the Engage program, who's going to share with you how we can analyze the data, how we can understand the data and interpret the data on motivation, and how we can use this data to design our joint project. So please, Olena, we're waiting for you. Dear friends, I'm pleased to welcome you here in this room. I'm really happy to see all of you here at this important day for our program. It's basically the 5th anniversary of our program, and we would like to continue the work that we have already been doing. And it's kind of already a routine tradition for us to share what is the most important for us, to share it with you. We would like to share the knowledge about the innovative approaches that really have to be used broadly in Ukraine. On the other hand, we would like to share the success stories of our partners, the one that inspire us, the one that are best case for us to follow. And of course, we would like to share some data with you, the data that help you to take a look at what are the values, what are the stereotypes, and what are the prejudices of the usual and average Ukrainians. We are always talking about data in the Engage program. We really care about data. Why? Because basically all of the very good project and business in marketing, in any kind of actual medicine, and whatever you start, and even in the behavioral sciences, they're all being based on the data analysis. They're all being based on the needed interpretation of the data. The main question here is why the civil society projects would not also take this tendency and take this trend to base and found their projects and programs on the deep understanding of the behavior of the citizens and their desires and ideas that are driven by citizens. We would like to help you with that, and that is why we have prepared our most important outcomes in the 10 important and high priority topics for us. And we do hope that it will be very good and interesting for you. So how have we come up with those conclusions? Well, basically our conclusions are about that, are drawn from what we have seen from the dynamics of the social point of view. Because you know that we have been conducting certain surveys of the people's thoughts about the corruption in Ukraine and about their level of the civil activity. And we have not only been limited to that. We had additional research that have been conducted. We have used the network analysis, we have built the regressions, and we have built additional models. I think I will need a little bit of technical support. So basically I would like to start to cover the topics that we would like to cover in our presentation today. The main topics are the 10 high priority topics for the Engage program, and those are the topics that will be very useful for you throughout these 2 days of forum. Of course, we're going to be talking about the civil engagement. We're going to be talking about the awareness about the different types of option on the civil engagement and civil activism. We're going to be speaking about the anti-corruption, the feeling and understanding of the reforms, the sustainability and resilience of the social sector, about the gender aspect of activism. We're going to be speaking about the motivation, and we're going to be speaking about the civil competences. The first output that we would like to share with you, it is considered the most important topic for Engage, the engagement, level of engagement to the civil activism, and the level of informedness of the social activism details. The data that we have had about the dynamics of the civil point of view and the social point of view, they have already shown us that the participants of the Engage events, who are the active participants of the Ukrainian social life, they have 3 points better, higher rate of the civil awareness that we have measured according to our survey on the civil activism. And among the questions, we include the 13 questions that we call the CLT, the civic literacy test. The overall population, they are less aware of the main civil competences, and we can already draw a conclusion that basically it's only about the practical need. Only the practical need, it improves the level of the practical awareness on the civil competences. The civil competences, they are directly connected to the activism. Only those people who feel their urge, their need to be engaged into actions, they feel the need to learn more. Moreover, very interesting conclusions that have already been provided to us by the regression analysis and the building of the statistics models. This data and these models, they have shown us that the overall civil literacy in Ukraine and civil literacy of Ukrainians has a really powerful correlations on social and demographical factors and the structure of the society factors. It means that the person who has a chance for better civil competences, if they have the certain level of income, if they have certain level of education, and if they live in the certain region of Ukraine. Because unexpectedly we have had those conclusions coming up that the people from the western parts of Ukraine, they have slightly better understanding of the mind's civil competences. So they have slightly better knowledge and understanding of those things that includes the knowledge of the main positions on the rights and the duties of the people, of the citizens, and the main issues of the civil and political life. Another unexpected output of our analysis was that the civil literacy also depends on the awareness of the 3 types of the civil engagement. So providing with the informational queries, participation in the work of the multi-storied assemblies, and then working and participating and signing of the e-petitions. I would already said that this is something that we can sum up as learning by doing. And the main conclusion for those projects that would really like to increase the level of the civil awareness would be that it's not just enough for us to invest into the quality of the civil education. It's not just enough to invest into the quality of the courses on civil education. We also need to increase the level of engagement of citizens so that the knowledge they've gained would turn into practice. Basically, what it is that our data give us on the civil engagement and civil awareness. Those are kind of interconnected things, but they also have very interesting information that we really would like to share with you. So basically, when we have analyzed the data of the surveys for the general populations and the participants of the engaged programs and events, we have understood that the participants of our events, they are logically better aware and better engaged into the social life. If we will speak about the average numbers, then you can see that the general population, they participate and they're being engaged in less than one type of the civil activities and civil events, parts a year out of possible different 14 options. The participants of the engage assemblies, they are more diverse in their participation, and they participate at least in 4 different options and the 4 different variants of the civil engagement events. This data gives us a clearer understanding that the engagement and awareness, they don't have a direct correlation overall, which was basically important for us to understand as well, because awareness about the possibility to actively participate in the social life is not a key factor for become civilly engaged person. A better informed person is not always an activist, and this data has also proven this thesis for us. Nevertheless, the level of awareness is a very important trend and a very important thing for us, and the awareness of the different 4 options of participation, it increases the opportunities for engagement at least by 40%. So the person that knows that they can participate in the civil in the town halls, in the peaceful gatherings, that they can provide the reports about the infrastructure or participate in the activities of their multi-storied assemblies, they are becoming more active, and they are becoming activists as well. Based on this data, what we can say that throughout the design of the civil projects, it is not enough only to target all of your efforts only to information, to informing the population. You need to find some additional ingredients that will definitely help us to turn the passive knowledge into active engagement. Speaking on the gender aspect of activism, our analysis has shown that women are participating more actively, they are more active, and they are more likely to be engaged into civil life than men. So this trend has been lasting for more than 4 years now, and we can see at this graph that we have more women among activists, but we also have more women among the potential activists, the people that we would call the ones that are not participating in the civil activities, but who would like to learn more about that and who would like to be engaged in the future. So why is that so important, and why men are that passive? Why they're not engaged? Well, basically that is a very important task and a very hard question that we cannot answer yet, but maybe the answer will be received, or the answer will be found when we will analyze a different factor, a factor of motivation. The data that we have analyzed, the data that we have processed, they're constantly been hinting us that in the activist formula, there always this essence of this, unseen or unclear element yet. The one that is this combining ground, that is this third element that gives an opportunity to change the knowledge of people into into the actions. And that is clearly something what we call motivation. Motivation, as it turned out, has turned out to be the factor that has approved and improved both the civil engagement and the civil awareness in the same time. What can we say about motivation overall? Unfortunately, we don't have the segregated data on every certain situation, but we can say that Ukrainian citizens, they do not actively participate in the lives of their communities because of overall lack of time. So basically, maybe that's historically driven, that Ukrainians believe the activism to be a non-obligatory or voluntary activities. So they do not believe that it is as important as it should be. Among these two auxiliary demotivators that prevent people from actively engaging in civil activities are the very high level of paternalism and the paternalistic approach. So basically there is this level of assurance that the state should take care of all of the problems instead of people, and of course the loss of faith. The loss of faith that they have no idea that their individual efforts can get some results as well. There is another very important task for those people who would like to engage citizens better into their projects, but the potential work with the motivation factors and demotivation factors will help to create this connection between actions and knowledge. So basically, for the Engage program, it is always very important to raise the issues of reforms. In all of our surveys, we are tracking the opinions towards reforms in different variations. And one of the outputs that we wanted to bring out today for your attention and for you to discuss is having this feelings of this irreversibility of the reforms. When do people have it already? When does this dynamics has? In this graph, covering from 2017 up till now, these graphs can show us that Ukrainians are very pragmatic when they speak about the reforms and when they evaluate the reforms. Ukrainians consider the reforms and the positive effect of the reforms in many levels, so basically on micro and macro level. So they believe that the reforms are useful in this understanding of what kind of money income it will improve and what kind of profit it will have for the overall state's economy. That's very interesting to know that this kind of things as, for example, restoring justice or improving the level of the services provided, that are always on the secondary take when the Ukrainians are thinking about the reforms. What kind of conclusions we can draw out of it? Those projects and those initiatives that have been targeted on promoting the reforms, they have to presuppose that kind of communication and reform communication, that would be mostly practical, pragmatic, and that would be clear for each and every family and each and every household. We have to speak about reforms in the language of figures. Of course, we cannot avoid the issue of corruption because it's one of the key issues for our program, and basically the data of our research has shown that Ukrainians have believed that the corruption is the issue of the highest level that does not touch them directly. Starting from 2015, the number of people who believe that they should fight corruption with their own efforts has decreased by 3, up from 24% in 2015 up till 8% in the current year. So basically, speaking on corruption, I think that everyone in our country knows about corruption. So the data of our research has shown that Ukrainians, they know how to fight corruption with their own efforts. So basically, it's not about the lack of information, or there is the lack of that kind of there's limitations to providing those actions, for example, as reporting corruption. This is available for more than 60% of the population. They're aware of that. But to those type of anti-corruption activism, year after year, is being engaged not enough people, up to the level of 1 or 2% of Ukrainian population. How can we motivate people to join the anti-corruptional activism? What can we do about that? Of course, we should consider the motivation and demotivation factors, the ones that give us the clear understanding that Ukrainians are ready to fight corruption only when it only touches their direct interests. If the people believe they feel themselves protected, they feel themselves safe, they are ready to make some reports in the specific institution about the anti-corruptional cases. But basically, there are a lot of more demotivation factors. And yes, they are really strongly influencing the way that Ukrainians think about anti-corruption activities. And only when the people will be engaged into those issues that consider their own interests, they will help us to activate the citizens in these directions. Another consequence about the anti-corruption activities, and the conclusion that is some way intertwined with the previous, is also giving us the clearer understanding that potentially those very first steps, those entry points for the anti-corruption activities, can be the issues of the lowest level, can be the issues of the lowest level. So basically participating in providing the reports about the anti-corruptional activity, so about the corruptional needs that being provided at the very limited territories, in your yard, at your school, maybe not to that scale, in your hospitals. It can engage Ukrainian citizens to that. And it is very interesting to take a look at those trends and to take a look at that. What are the anti-corruptional moments are important, that people believe that the anti-corruptional fighter is a good citizen. And the next graph will show that as well. But in real life, in real actions, the Ukrainians do not want to meet this ideal frequently. Another conclusion that we wanted to share was the conclusion of the network analysis that we have already concluded in the next 3 years. We wanted to create a map of the civil society and wanted to see the different subsectors, how they collaborate. The same analysis that we've had give us the opportunity about the 150 civil society organizations to organize different sectors of the civil society. This analysis that we haven't completed yet, and we're going to be doing the main release in October, gives us the clearer understanding that the network of the civil society organizations that are dealing with the issues of anti-corruption and that are dealing the issues with promoting the reform, that have been divided into slightly isolated sectors that are also dealing, for example, with the environmental issues, with promoting the reforms on the local level, the issues of the decentralizations that are dealing with the issues of the civil population and promoting the knowledge among youth. So all of these sectors, they have been located quite dispersed, and they're working in their own silos. Another conclusion from this network analysis is about that as CSOs, they are mostly following the activities of one another. They're reading through the news of one another. They're visiting the events organized by one another. But the overall indicator of cooperation in the sector is quite low. The final conclusion that I would like to share, speaking about this network analysis, is about the organizations of the local level and the grassroots organization. As we have already seen throughout these 2 years, that has been quite a sustainable trend already, that the organization at the local and regional level, they're mostly located in the overall peripheric moments of the overall network. That means that they're quite not that much of engaged into the activities of the civil sector, and in order to have the connections with a broader number of partners, they should always look for partnership, and they should always look for the mediators on the national level, the mediating partners on the national level, in order to reach the broader circle of stakeholders. The conclusions about the overall sustainability of the Ukrainian civil sector. The main conclusion here is that we actually have a lot of active citizens in Ukraine, and their number is constantly growing. So we can see this blue line here. Those are the respondents of our national survey, the ones that have said that they regularly, or time after time, they participate in, for example, the community meetings, or they participate in the life of their community, basically. In 2017, we have said that was the 25% of citizens like that, and like we can see right now, this year, you can see we're also reached a number by almost 10% more. The lowest line, what does that show? Those are the respondents who have answered that except for participating in the community life, they also participate in the events of the civil society. You can see there is no growth here on this line. What does that mean? It means that the maybe the civil society organizations, they are looking for the target audiences and constituencies in the wrong place. Maybe they're not physically located in the places where the activists are. Maybe the activists are at their working places, in their houses. Maybe they're taking their children to their schools, and so where are those representatives of the civil society organizations are located to cover their target audience? Because we know that the people are not always standing with the posters on the squares, or they are not specifically demanding the resolutions of their problems in the specific cabinets. Our analysis has also shown that there is a huge amount of people who are ready to become the donors for the civil society organizations. And one of the biggest conclusions here is there is a lot of activists who are ready to be the donors, to donate to the civil society organizations. So this 33%, this 1/3 of the overall population, the people who had their experience of being engaged into civil activities, they are also ready to provide some additional financial support for the CSOs if the CSOs will help to implement their own interests for the people. Out of those 10 topics, there is something that I wanted to cover, but what we also wanted to emphasize are the main key conclusions. And in order to increase the level of the civil engagement, it's not just enough to provide the better way to teach people about the civil education. You need to build engagement and awareness. When people are informed about the options of the civil activism, it is important, but it's not the main indicator, not the main thing why people participate. So when we're designing the civil project, we have to analyze the motivation and demotivation of the citizens. Speaking about the motivation and the gender aspects, overall, considering the personal motivation for people can help the CSOs to become more diversified, to be more targeted in their efforts, and to be more concentrated, and thus to engage both men and women in the best way for their activities. Promoting the reforms. In order to promote the reform and effectively promoting the reform, we should provide a clear connection between the new legislative initiatives and the main interest of every family and all citizens. anti-corruptional activities. Ukrainians are not ready to fight corruption on their own, but they can join those actions if those actions will be considered in their direct interests. Networking. Building up connections, building up different types of connection and different types of collaboration or communication and collaboration or overall communication, improve the resilience of the sector and building its coherence. And the final outcome for us is the sustainability of the civil sector. The donors of the CSOs will be mostly provided by the activists, the active people that haven't been not participating in the activities of the civil society organization. So we have to be active in this direction. So that is all for me, from my side at this moment. So I do hope this data and this interpretation that we have provided will be very useful for you, that they will be used by you actively, and we hope that we will be actively using it throughout these 2 days of the forum, and any time there is the opportunity to talk to us as well. Okay, thank you very much, Olena, but please stay with us, Olena, because we are really sure that this data is very important for all of us. But if you'll have any questions, then we have this opportunity to take some questions now. So the first hand, so please, dear friends with microphones, can you please help us? Please pass the microphone. Volodymyr Altukhov, the organization People's Control. You've said about the demands of the population, and I wanted to ask you, have you tracked it down about those people, the ones who violate those ideas and the one who not provide the inquiries in the time? Do you have those kind of things about the violators of the norm? Can you please clarify violators of what? Well, for example, for the Ministry of the Social Policies, we have been providing the inquiries, but they haven't provided us with the answers timely. And we're addressing this hotline and no one can influence them, no one. Okay, thank you very much for this question, but yes, unfortunately, we do not have the statistics because basically the data that has been presented overall, there are about the data of the overall review of the people, and survey of the general population, but not analyzing the queries and how they have been answered. So we don't have the statistics yet. So unfortunately, we cannot provide you with that. Yes, but dear friends, I would like to outline that we still have some people who are online with us, our online participants. So we would like to ask you as well, the ones who are online, please put them in the Zoom chat, and we will definitely use that as well. Please join us in our work. Good day. I just wanted, because I have been a part of this survey as well, so most of the representatives of the civil society, I know that you have been asking the population of basically what was the overall, what was the target audience that you have had. Yes, let us also introduce one another, and Serhiy Mikhalik. Yes, thank you very much. We have been conducting this overall survey, so this is going to be the representative for all of the people. And we also provide the engaged participants, and those are the people who have been participating in our events at least once. And this is something they're active in their everyday life. What is about those data that you can receive from us? Okay, I have a question as well. We have online question. I'm going to reply for the people from online. I will provide the words to them. And Ksenia Szymanska is asking whether you have provided that already. Basically, at our site, we publish the data of our reviews already, and we have at least 3 reviews reports a year, and you can find at least answers to the people, to the respondents, and you can cover the results of the reports on the promotion of the reforms, on the values that provided, on the values that are important for Ukrainian citizens, and of course about the overall state of Ukrainian corruption. That is a specific survey conducted in Ukraine. And basically, if we speak about this slide and this presentation, they have been presented for the very first time today. This is our analysis, our interpretations of the data and those trends and tendencies that we have covered based on our research that we've had 8 of up till now. So let me also add up to that, because this data and this analysis that you have seen today, you will not find it anywhere, because it was a premiere show of this data. But as a speaker, I know what is the most important information, the information that has been taken photos of. And I know that a lot of people have been taking the photos of the slide, but there's a good news for me to tell you. All of the materials after the end of our forum, we will send it to you with this presentation as well. So, dear friends, I think that you can wait to have those presentations and those materials up till the end. So please, there are some more questions from online here. So Hanna Hubenko from Sumy is asking as well, Olena, in your opinion, why do you believe that there's this low level of engagement in between the CSOs? Why the CSOs, they're not engaged that much for the civil activities and for the civil Okay, I think I should interpret the question in some different way. So why the CSOs, they're not networking that much between one another? If that's what it's meant, then if we're speaking about this aspect, then basically the networking is this trend that is currently only being raising in Ukraine. And in order to empower it, we need some additional efforts that will be specifically targeted for the development of the networks. It is a very good time for us right now to improve the networking between the civil sector. There are a lot of donors that are doing that in USAID Unity, and our project is working on that, and we do hope that when our joint efforts will be able to provide this idea to the civil society organization that by networking they're gaining more power, because they then will have more resources for the implementations of their project. They will have more knowledge because they will exchange the experiences they have. And then it will all bring back to the symbolical capital, because basically sooner or later the symbolical capital is going to help them to empower the CSOs. Okay, we have time for 2 more questions, and please introduce yourself and then we pass the floor to this Bible. Yes, good day, my name is Volodymyr, the Flora CSO. Please, can you tell us, in your research, have you presupposed the administrative territorial marker? So have you been tracking the level of the civil activity on the level of villages or towns in the specific locations? I will clarify my question in a way. Can we use your research and can we evaluate whether the creation of the amalgamated communities has become the main catalyzer to improve the civil activities on the level of the different territories? Yes, thank you very much for this question. It is a very important and much needed question. Unfortunately, when we had our national survey with a selection of 2,000 respondents, we cannot track the overall civil opinions in the specific regions, or not even considering the communities. But our review of the 8th wave that has been conducted in January this year, it covers some additional information in the 4 high priority regions for us. There are the so-called boosters that give us the opportunity to consider of what the people think and what are the values and what are the attitudes towards reform that have been applied by the people of the 4 regions: Zaporizhia region, Kharkiv region, Kherson and Sumy region. So we can give you more detailed information about those 4 regions. On the amalgamated territorial communities, we will not be able to provide it to you, but maybe someone will listen to your questions and someone will conduct this targeted research just to see the impact of the different regions and the impact of the amalgamated communities to the development of civil society. Yes, so we're getting the mic from one Kropivnitsky representative to another representative of Kropivnitsky, please. Dmitro Zinchenko from Association of the Political Science says, did I understand it the right way? So the local organizations are being networking and communicating through the mediation of the nationwide organization. Did you get it right? Okay, and the second moment, how have you selected the organization that participated in this survey? Yes, thank you for having this question on methodology, and thank you very much for this question about it. So, speaking about the essence of the networking analysis, I will slightly broaden the outcomes that I've already mentioned. The networking analysis has shown us that the local organizations, they are mostly, if they are connected to some certain networks of the CSOs, that they are much better included in the overall civil sector. But still, the connections with all of the civil sector will not be that numerous. So one local organization, they can have one maximum of 3 connections with the other organizations around them, or the organizations on the national level. Moreover, we had a very interesting outcome of our analysis that the local organizations, they are mostly following the donors. They're mostly following this bigger mediators who aggregate the news and aggregate the data throughout the sectors, but they might not be following their, not to say their competitors, but the partners in the very same sector. What is being done by them, or maybe we can do something together with those partners. So that is something that is interesting, and this lack of connection of the organizations due to the topic on the different level is something that we can see, is something that we can be tracked. So this is one of the outputs that we have to work with, and that is why we wanted to show it to you. On the methodology of the networking analysis, we have this so-called snowball methodology. That is basically, we have started that networking survey starting from the engaged partners. So we have sent the survey first of all to them, then they have already provided some additional information on the organization they collaborate with, then we have contacted that organization, then we've sent the survey to them. So we've tried to cover at least 4 tiers, four iterations of the survey that give us the opportunity to survey starting from 40 to 70 organizations, and given us the opportunity to visualize more or less the so active part of the civil sector, the one that is dealing with important questions on reform, anti-corruption, environmental protection, so on and so forth. Yes, okay, thank you. I think we had one final question. We've had a hand here, passing it to Kharkiv. Yes. Victoria, can you please tell us, as far as I've understood, the partners of those people who participated in our events, they're mostly about the people who are civilly active, the civil society activists, or the representatives of the self-governments or public officials. But we never had the business engagement in our activities. So the data that can be provided by the businesses, we do not have it. So this is up to us of who we invite to our events. So if we had, for example, started working with businesses more, we would have a different picture then. Am I right? Well, yes, that's about basically all of the participants of your events. They are being connected to our database, and we are regularly sending them, for example, 2 or 3 times a year. We're sending them the surveys. You have seen the results partly on the screen today during this presentation. Of course, if you engage a lot of businesses, then there will be more response from the businesses after all. But in order to cover the point of view of the representatives of the private sectors, I think it would be much better to provide some additional research and additional tools to do that. The next 2 years of our program, they have this greatest task of improve the sustainability of the civil sector. We're going to be covering this question again as well, and we're going to be providing the answers to the questions that we all have, and we'll share our outcomes as well. How can we work better with the private sector? How can we diversify our costs and to become more reliable and sustainable in long-term perspective? Yes, thank you, Olena, for your answering the question. Thank you very much for this premiere of our today's analysis. Thank you very much, Olena. Let's thank our colleagues. Thank you again. So please remember, we promised you to have the practical cases of how can we use the human-oriented approach to design the new products and services. So that is why we're going to be talking about not only the human-oriented services, but human-oriented state services, and how we can make the state services the really human-oriented. How can we make them be more human-oriented for the real human needs? On the example of Diia app, we're going to be talking right now to Kostiantyn Radzivil, the first deputy of the general director of the state enterprise Diia. So please, Kostiantyn, the floor is yours. Good day, my name is Kostiantyn, and I have been invited to tell you a little bit of what Diia is and why that is very good, why it is the future, and why we should use that. You know, I have frequently had this point of view that Diia is something really scary that collects your data, is going to be using your data in some malicious way, and is going to be using it not for good, but going to use against you. I would like to debunk this myth for you, and I'd like to show you that Diia is a very cool digital product, and what the Ministry of the Digital Transformation does, it's actually the future. So what is our main goal? So we would like to build the most comfortable state in the world. Why and how we can do that? We really want the people not to spend a lot of time in their lines. We really would like to see the people and the citizens, for foreigners as well, the one who are visiting our country. We do not want them to be working with a huge amount of papers that have no sense, that are useless. We want to reach the goal when all of the 100% of the public services that have been provided in Ukraine and will be provided in Ukraine, they will be all available, and they will be all available online, and they will be all available in e-type. As you know, that the President of Ukraine has already signed the draft law on paperless, and starting for the 24th of August, in order to provide the administrative services, the people should not ask you for the paper documents. But this is not the tip of the iceberg. What Diia is about? Diia is a one-step window that provides you the access to registers, right now to some selected registers, but then you will have the access to all of the registers where the data on you or your family is being kept. It might be scary, but that's very cool. Why? Because Ukraine is the first country in the world that has joined the digital passports to the paper passports. What does it mean? You should not carry your paper passport all the time with you. You shouldn't show it all the time. You shouldn't spend the time when you've lost it or where you have stolen this passport. You just need to make this ID card once, and you will have this digital passport in your app. What does it provide you with? It's always with you. It's protected, it's fully protected, it's not going to be copied, it cannot be recreated, and it cannot be passed to a different person without your consent. Moreover, we have made another step in digitalizing documents. We have also worked with the driver license. A lot of people use that as well, and a lot of people use it, and you know, we even had the cases when the police did not took it as valid, but it has all been done in past. Now it's all being provided in the app. Of course, if you have the modern driver license, but you haven't received them like 20 or 30 years ago, just because they haven't been digitalized yet, but we're working on that as well. Starting with the best and the most important thing, the COVID certificates, the most important topic right now. You know that the vaccination is being very active in Ukraine, and in order to receive the COVID certificate, that's one that's going to be not to carry this piece of paper with you. You have this opportunity to upload it into your app. But what is even more important, that we have signed numerous amounts of agreements with different countries for the acknowledgement of our COVID certificates. So right now, when you are going abroad, you can just take your phone with you, you can show the QR code, and you can scan it, and basically there is the basis for you to cross the border. There are some technological moments, but it's going to be all simplified as soon as possible. What else? in our portal. So what Diia is about? Diia is this two component. There is a portal, the portal that you can reach through the web browser, and the mobile app that you can download to your phone. At our portal, we have more than 5 million unique users, 5 million unique users, no repeated users. We have more than 70 plus administrative services. And now it's been growing more and more and more. We'll also have the Diia Summit by the end of October. You will see how many services is going to be digitalized and how many services are going to be included into the portal. What is the most available and what are the most demanded is, of course, the registration of businesses. The registration of the legal entity through Diia will take you around 10 seconds. That's really so, because we have taken all of the opportunities for you to make a mistake. We have taken all of the fails that can be provided by the registrator. If you know, or maybe you don't know, I will tell you about that. That right now, right now there's no human participation for the registration of the legal entity. Right now we've had the state registrator. They might be making some mistakes in that, and you should also deal with this question for quite a long period of time. Right now we don't have a person there. It's absolutely automatically done. There's an automatic database that creates the application for that, updates the application, and getting it into the register, you can start to become an entrepreneur straight away. What I'm using all the time, and I recommend to everyone, you know that there is a very simple issue of changing your economical activity codes. In order to change the economical activities code, you should go to the state register to apply the certain form. And even for me, even though I have the experience of 10 years in law, I have never filled this form in. You can find any mistakes there all the time, but it's very simply written for the people who work in justice system, for people who work in different institutions. But for average general citizens, it's really terrible. Right now you can do that in 2 minutes. You included that, you added some codes, they will be updated, and the next day you're updated. You can conduct your activities according to the legislation and the taxation codes. So basically that's all very easy. You can see that we can also register the LTD, the limited liability enterprise, or limited liability company, LLC. So basically you can register that as well. You have to upload the passport that will be signed by the CAP. So you can scan your passport in PDF and you will sign it with your digital signature. That is the only problem. That's not about Diia's fault, it's about the regulatory documents. So you can already create the LLC in Diia. It will not take a lot of problems for you. You will choose the taxation type, you will all get registered, there will be no problem for that. The next step for the businesses would be to include the banks to that, or the financial institutions or the banking institutions, so you will not need to go to any other services or to pay your taxes through other apps. That's all will be there. We have already done it for the private entrepreneurs, so you can fill your declaration through Diia and you can apply your declaration. That's very easy. If you will go through this taxpayer cabinet, that's not the easiest form, and you will have to open Wikipedia and read out through recommendation in order to fill it in. It's all simplified. Here, half of the data is going to be uploaded automatically, and the declaration is going to be provided. You just have to pay the tax. But it will be the next step for us as well to provide the tax payment for in the app. Speaking about the app, this is the most revolutionary thing that is currently available in Ukraine. Why? Because I do compare it to the paper money and cards. So we got used to the paper money, but now I think every one of us is using plastic cards, and most of you have already stepping aside from the plastic cards and you're already providing the payments with the phone. The next stage is the QR codes, our future, where we won't have the paper money, where we won't have the cards, so we are going to have the e-hryvnia, and we're working on that right now. It will happen soon. A lot of our users that are constantly growing, and even after this presentation is going to end, I'm sure that we're going to have a couple of more unique users of Diia application. So please don't be afraid of it. So Diia does not save your personal data. Diia is just a window to different registers. If you believe that after you get registered in Diia that the state, or me personally, I would be able to see something about you that I haven't seen before, that's not the truth. Why? Because all of your data is already included into the state register, into the demographical register, into the register of enterprises, into different taxes registers as well. So Diia is just the door, a port to those registers, and the opportunity opportunity to use this data here and now, but will not spend in time for additional queries. Right now, the Diia app, and there's many different interfaces, and the documents have been provided in a different way. I haven't made myself a digital ID passport, but it's already there, and the app is already reporting that as well. So the passport, the foreign passport, the insurance policy, the driver's license, Kovats certificates, the birth certificate. So what I meant by that all of this package of the documents that is being provided there in Diia, you don't need those documents to carry with you all the time. You don't need that there. And even the transfer of those documents can be provided in the easiest way by scanning the QR code and sharing whatever I want to tell you. So what is Diia QR? It's an innovative product. So think about that. So when you are coming to your work, when you would like to get employed or you're the employer, think about that for your HR department doesn't need to carry all of those documents, even though that we do not have the paper label books, we have the e-books. But there is a lot of questions that have been left as well. The scan of the passports, codes, the diplomas on education, all of that. What is it all about? We really want to see people when they're going to be coming for the job opportunities, they will just show the QR code for this responsible person. The person would read it out, and full document package would already be delivered to the e-database of the employer. It's not just about employment, because it's a very important issue for me when you're hiring people, when you need all of the needed diplomas, all of the needed copies and documents. It will give you the opportunity to share the identified document package, plus none will provide the opportunity to pass these documents with you. The QR code will be available for 3 minutes, and no one will be able to basically download it or reuse it. So this is the opportunity for you to pass these documents for the people who need this opportunity. That's something very, very comfortable. What is sharing? When you're starting your activities in Diia, I've started to work with many different state institutions according to my work. And you know there is in Cabinet of Ministers, you have to order some specific permissions as well. That's a very interesting, good thing, because, I can't carry my paper passport. 10 years ago, it's already been well worn out, and there's a really strange photo that I really don't want to show to people. I have my documents in Diia. The only thing that I need is just to show it on the different site. Then they can scan my codes, and they already see the confirmation that that is me, that this document is there, that this document is real, that's not a PDF, that's not something made as a GPJ. So basically that is this document that is supported by the national registers, and I'm being provided I'm being attained for my entrance, and I don't have to carry the documents with me. I do not carry any of the documents with me. I carry it all in Diia. Speaking about the sole interpreters, I'm going to tell you about what are we following next. We don't want only for the people to get registered their enterprises in 10 minutes and to register LLC in 10 minutes as well. Our main goal is to provide the full cycle of services. What do we mean by that? In my personal point of view, when you have filled in 2 or 3 lines, you have received not only the certificate of the state registration or any kind of additional certificate that you need, but for you to receive the full ready-made product with your banking account as well. So how it works right now, you have registered your entrepreneur activities, you registered your LLC, but you have to take these documents and you have to track it to take it to the bank. For example, the private bank can already see that, but still they can understand that your taxation number is going to be just the same as your enterprise number as well. But speaking about the LLC, that will be much harder to do that. You will need some protocols, status, there's a lot of documents that are needed to provide it to the bank. But what we are looking for is so that the banking establishments would already provide you the IBAN. You provided you with your code to your phone, to your portal. You are registered and you can start your financial activity straight away. The super service, why? Out of my own experience, I would like to tell it to you, when you have a child born, especially for a man, well, first of all, you will receive $1 million if you will be a man who will bear the life to a child. But then this first 3 or 4 days in the nursery house is very interesting and nervous and pleasurable. But there is one thing that used to be there. It's not really relevant to all of the cities, but I'm going to be based on my own experience here. When on the 3rd or the 4th day, the people tell you that you should go to this some certain cabinet, fill in the application and choose the name of your child, and then you will be provided with the birth certificate. What is the point? The point is that the father usually comes to that, and father is not in this kind of situation. He's been affected that when they're asking to show the data of her wife and the year of birth, and people sometimes are being puzzled and they're rewriting this registration card numerous times. It's being filled in by the employee who's not there 946. It is specific days, specific hours in the hospital, in the nursery house. It's all very complicated. You're not really have been sleeping a lot. So, okay, that was a really complicated task for a young father to fill in this car registration card. And there is one satisfaction there as well. When you're given this card, you should also have the signature of your wife, because otherwise this registration card is not going to be accepted, and there won't be the certificate provided. So when the father of the child is coming back to this wife, they also have this moment, like basically maybe I should change the name of the child, because the Legolas would sound better than Vasil Petro or whatever, and the wife will never notice, she will just sign it up. So basically what I wanted to say, and then this is registration, this birth certificate, when you have already gone through this health cycles of improving in this registration cycle, in 2 or 3 weeks you're also being told that you will have to get the certificate physically, you will have a message, you will never receive the message, you don't know whether the certificate is ready or not. What is going on right now? You can fill the registration form. That is very simple. If you are in the portal, then the data is going to be updated automatically. But you cannot just fill in your registration card for the child there. But we have connected multiple services into this service. So not Diia that provides the birth certificate. The birth certificate is provided by the Ministry of Justice and their department, the Department of the Registration of the Civil Status. But for you to understand that the Ministry of Healthcare and their structural houses, the hospitals or nursery homes, they will provide this filled-in data to this Department of the State Registration. Then that's going to be combined. Everything is much easier through Diia. You fill in the application, you apply it, they will be automatically delivered to the State Register of the Civil Status. Then they will automatically provide the certificate. The certificate is being delivered to the Ukr-Post, and the Ukr-Post right now is being implemented. Maybe we will be applying to the other delivery services as well. The courier is going to be, there's 2 opportunities. You can order the delivery to your door or to your post office. That's very easy. That's very convenient. First of all, we're taking down all of the opportunities to make any mistakes where you're filling in the application. On the second moment that the change using the name of your child, well, you will be there with your wife to fill it in. So you don't have to spend the time to go, because not all of the people live near the nursery house. It will be delivered to you, and they will have received a call. It costs 46 hryvnias to the post office and 61 hryvnias up to door. So that is very cool. I would really advise everyone to use that. Just go ahead and use that. Then, the construction sector. One of the most complex issues in Ukraine. Why? Because we're all facing these issues that sooner or later the man should actually build a house and give birth to a son and plant a tree. We have already spoken about the child. Let us talk about the houses. Even being as a lawyer for more than 10 years, I'm not sure that I will be able to fill in the declaration on the construction and to apply all of this. But if you will take a look at the different formats, you will be absolutely drawn by it. You will never know about what is going on. What can be done? So you can provide those different moments. There's not all of them right now there, but the question is, like all of the questions about the construction formats and registration will be in Diia soon. That will definitely simplify the opportunities for people to communicate with the government. It can be done locally, so it is about the villages and town parts of the civil of the administration that are dealing with this issue. So sitting at your computer, you're filling in the needed application that it has a minimum of possibility to make a mistake. You have this opportunity not to reapply because you will already have the message that your application is being sent and it's being processed. And in online regime, you can see how much time is being taken and what is there. Very cool, very revolutionary, very complex system, and there's a lot of these moments we have to work, but we're at least working in the right direction. Let's get back to the mobile app. Out of all of those benefits that I have already told you about the importance of the mobile documents, there's also the issues of the fines. So the traffic tickets as well. We're all using cars. So some people, sometimes they have the traffic fines as well. But what I wanted to tell you, that what we have done, we have collaborated with the state enterprises Infotech, the one that administers the traffic fines and traffic tickets. We now have the technical connection, so now the people have this opportunity to see what were the fines and tax tickets and the driving tickets that they have paid or haven't paid. Because sometimes it happens that you don't have the letters, you don't have the notifications provided. You can see automatically if there is that ticket that has appeared for you. If you haven't paid it, then it's already been turned into the executive prosecution. Then you can open Diia, you can open this executive provisions, and you can see the number of this executive provision, when, and how it's been opened. You can respond to it in the real-time regime. Yes, on one hand, we have done nothing new because the register of the executive provisions has already been available, but no one has used it. Only the lawyers, only the one who understood it's available. So what I want to say, everything that I'm talking about that was available already. For just to tell you that, Diia started following you when they have added up all of the services into one app. No, we have just connected all of those things in one place. We have just given you the access to all of those registers that are currently ready to do that. The same thing about the administrative fines. So this is basically what we're speaking about, the traffic tickets. We won't like to pay all of the taxations and administrative services payments in Diia. So all of that will be paid through Diia. You can go to the specific location, to that snap, and we have already done that. You scan your QR code with your phone, you scan the QR code that you needed for the specific code of service, and you already have the services that you have to pay. You're paying it with the phone, and that's it. You're already paid for everything, and this receipt has already been sent back, and you can see that the service has been paid. You should not show this receipt to anyone or redirect it. You have already have it there. You have received the services that you paid for. What we also want to do for Diia Summit in October, we're preparing the full package of the new services that they've provided. For me, the very important is the opportunity to change your registration position. I know from my own practices that it's really hard to change the registration place because there are some problems with the military offices. Everyone knows that. Right now, we're working on that, on getting connected to the registers of the military offices as well. We'll be able to operate their data as well. So getting your own wife registered in your own life is not a problem anymore. So what can you do about that right now? So she, in her application, Diia, can send up the address for this apartment that you own at this moment. They send you the request, and in your Diia, you can see a request or notification. You approve it, and that's it. The person has changed their residential and the registration position. You should not go anywhere. There's no books or queries that you have to pay for. Yes, we still have these practices when we have had those house books there, but if we're speaking about the new moments, then everything is being done in a very fast pace, high quality, and no problems to do that. Speaking about some tangible things, this is the Diia signature, the qualified e-signature. I do understand that a lot of people, they have these issues, and I do believe that you all use the keys that have been generated by the private bank. So you have generated the key, but you can use it. But this is the file carrier, and now you have it all in the phone. It's being generated by us. It's being generated. This is my department that is in the structure of the state-owned enterprise. It's being generated by us. It's our own electronic qualified electronic signature that we actually are responsible for. So in order to sign the document that is needed by now, you do not have this flash card, you don't need a computer, you can do it all with a phone. The good example about that is to go to your e-cabinet of a driver. You can go through the flash code, through token, and through Diia signature. You can just open your Diia. You can using the qualified signature, and you have been sent to the Diia application if it's been installed for you. You also provide it with your signature, and you'll be into the cabinet. That's all very simple, but it's all very simple for the people, for the person that uses it. We know that Diia is the best app right now in Ukraine, and everyone uploads it. So what I also wanted to tell you, that Diia is constantly being updated. We're constantly updating it. There are some technical moments that we're trying to work on as well, but we have to understand that it's about future. You shouldn't be afraid about this product. You shouldn't be afraid to use those services that the state provides you with. Because the paper documents and the personal visits to the providers of the administrative services, they're definitely going to make your life harder, and not just your life harder. What we are going through, that it's all will be left in the past. It's all about the people, about your desire to use modern technologies and for you to be up till time, for you to be timely. Speaking about Diia, overall, again, Diia is being integrated to the multiple systems already. You can take a look at that, okay, maybe not into every bank, but there's a lot of financial institutions in Kyiv that who already work with Diia, and I'm speaking about the documents that can be provided by Diia. A lot of educational establishments, medical establishments, the touristic agencies, the financial institutions, they already work with Diia. You show Diia, that's it, they work out with you. You don't need any additional certificates to prove your identity. A lot of people, they have these questions about your identity code. There is a very small, tiny piece of paper that cannot be carried away. I don't know, maybe someone has laminated that, I don't know. But it seems that this number of numbers is important. Why can we step out of it with the paper? Because you have to understand that under every administrative service, under any documents that you have had in Diia, there's a million of the regulatory acts there. So there's different normative and regulatory acts there. So in order for all of us to take down the paper identification code, we have to have a lot of legal work done. There has to be a lot of changes for the huge number of regulatory acts, which is very complicated. And all of the next services are being connected to that. So we're doing that simultaneously. We're not taking down paper. We're not canceling paper. We're giving the people the opportunity to use something new, progressive and contemporary in the same time. You can see our partners here, and just to add it up all together, I just wanted to say that go digital, because it's worth it. Thank you. Thank you very much, Kostiantyn. Okay, dear friends, please, Kostiantyn, stay with us yet. I don't know, ask for the questions, wait for the questions. And as a moderator, I think I will start and asking you with the first questions. You know that our forum is about the human-oriented approach, and we are saying that the main important needs for their people is about that. So, how Diia uses this approach? Well, everything is very easy, actually, because, the Diia has come to life because we have been mostly human-oriented. I was invited here. When I was invited here, people asked me, tell us about what was before Diia and what happened when Diia appeared. It's a really hard question because it's really hard to say that we didn't have the administrative services before Diia was there. It was there. Just to say that Diia has created new administrative services. No, that's not true. We haven't created anything, but we have created something that wasn't there before. We have given the opportunity for the people to use those services, for the people who might not, for example, have the higher education, who don't have 10 years in the working legal office, who have no opportunity to be wasting time in front of the offices of the doctor or provided 10 times to give the documents that are needed. We're just saying that the state should be more open to people. It has to be clearer. This is something that we are reaching on those the first services that we have provided, the mobile app. We wanted the people to spend as less time as possible, and when we have been doing that, we have been tracking how much time will it take us to create the individual enterprise, because we had a lot of tryouts to create this. We had the service from the Cabinet of Ministries. I can't recall how it's called. There was the Rec Cabinet for you to get registered there as well. You can create even the civil society organization by just signing it with a key by 2 people. And what is the most important? It doesn't really matter whether these people will be in the same location, so we should not go to the notary office altogether with their stand of you. You just need to have the qualified e-signature, and you can send it with a link. So it's much easier to create a legal enterprise. You should not get people to the same notary office to collect all of the signatures. You can be located anywhere, wherever you are, in different parts of the world, not just in the Ukraine. But you can create a legal entity in Ukraine, pay the taxes, and be your business activity. So that is what I call the client-orientedness and human-orientedness towards citizens, when the state creates the conditions for the business making, not only by mitigating the taxes by creating new banks or services, but when the state is already saying that opening business in Ukraine is just as simple as that, 2 seconds, and it works. Okay, thank you. I think we have the first question. We have really active hand here asking the question. Good day, my name is Maxim, and I am from the Ukrainian Independent Center for the Political Research. Thank you very much, Kostiantyn, for your presentation. I've got registered in Diia right now. No, I have been using it, but I have understood that I'm not using all of the options in Diia, so that would have been a very useful presentation for me. But basically, you're right now in a room where we have the representatives of the charitable organization and CSO. So trying to get back to our needs, I wanted to ask you, when should we expect the opportunity for the online registration of CSO on Diia, and for the charity organization to be registered in Diia as well? Yes, you've said yourself already that there is some kind of a website for the Ministry of Justice, for the House of Justice, that is the opportunity to register the civil society organization online. But it's really organized in a complex way, but it hasn't been updated for recently, because everyone said that we're all working on Diia, that their site is periodically trying to be closed. But the people said, like, oh, but the online registration, but already the entrepreneurs can be registered that, and the LLC can be registered that, but it's not interesting for us to register CSOs. So, but we really would like to see that the CSOs and the charitable organization to be registered on Diia as well, because it's much easier for us than the LLCs, because we do not need the notary support for the signature. So we're almost the same form as the private interpreters. So basically, entrepreneurs. So basically, the statistics say that there's not a lot of CSOs, but there's around 3,500 new CSOs. So we have 85,000 CSOs in Ukraine, and periodically we're changing the statutes, residential address. So there is a lot of services that we are also using to change the data in the register. So I think that will be the normal scope of services, actually. So there is a big request and big question. Let us dream all together. When will we be able to see the e-registration of the CSO and charitable organization in Diia, and how can we help to make it faster? So, okay. Thank you, Maxim. The greatest question. Yes, that is the coolest level of question to be posed. Thank you. The question is very simple on one hand, and on the other hand is really hard. It's easy for me to speak with you because I am a lawyer as well, and I have been registered as all of that, and registered the CSOs, and I've never done it from the very first time, even though it really feels like, that's easy. Registration card and protocol, the statute, that's all in there. But then you have to provide the status of being a non-commercial organization. That's very cool. But still. Okay, what you have to understand that it's, first of all, it's not about Diia, but it's about the desire for those state institutions to get into Diia. So it's not really hard. It's hard to do with technical stuff, with the API and stuff, but most of the work here is still about the legal base. To register the CSO and charity, there is a different moment of the legal documents. If about the entrepreneurs, it's about the law of the registration of the sole entrepreneurs and LLCs, then it's one legislation. Then there are different documents and different laws on the charity organization and on the CSOs. It's possible to do that, but we need to have the changes and the amendments to the regulatory base. And just to sign that together with the state registers that are doing that are, for example, not located in the SNAPs, but there are separately, because it's a separately registered type of the registration, as media and the political parties, so they're a separate type of registration. And then to make those changes and to add it up, to give them the opportunity that you can add up, you can register through Diia, because technology-wise, there are the same processes. But we have got to this idea with the sole entrepreneur, just for us to get it to the charitable organization and CSO, for there not to be the person included, then it's really hard. So this is a very hard question, basically, but the most challenges in the regulatory documents, but not on the Diia's desire to do something. So I'm sure that, speaking on lobbying, if we will have this question, if you will pose this question to the Ministry of Justice by the specific department, then why not? Okay, you can consider that this question has been raised, so I think we'll all together will be able to write an e-petition to the Ministry of Justice that will just tell him when I'm going to meet him that the state enterprise Diia is ready to do this functionality, so he just have to sign the letter of request. Yes, thank you, Maxim, from all of us on our behalf as well. Okay, so I see more questions coming here. So, good day, my name is Alexander, and having the ID card instead of the passport, we have to have the additional formula with our residential improvement. So when we will already end up this documents mass, when we'll be able to work with the e-documents. For example, our today's forum has also said that Diia is not accepted. Only bring your documents. Why? Okay, that's a very good question, because basically, it seems like we have got digital, but we had another paper coming up as well. So, okay, why there is a problem to this moment? It's just that on one hand, we have the taxation code in one moment, and we have forgotten about the other things, but it's still being deciphered in NFC. But the problem is that to read out of this card, we don't have the things to do. We have already provided the information to the card, but we have no equipment to read it out. Just to give you a secret, I think we'll be offering this service on Diia Summit, so we will present it soon, and I'm sure that we'll be able to represent it there, because you will not need to have this anymore, because this is basically the only improvement of where you live. Why would you need that if you will where do you live that? So basically, if you'll have this will you have the QR code on the other hand, and the accepted organization would only open Diia, scan your QR code, and everything will be here. So the next time when you'll be here, I'm sure that we will work this out, and we will work this moment out, and all of your documents, they will be already presented by the QR code. Okay, 4 questions. Good. Let's start with these 4 questions. I'm sure that these questions are going to be more or less in the context of our forum, so please. Hi, my name is Bogdan. I'm from the Engage program, but I have a question. You have a very huge database. I think you have millions of users. So how do you collect the feedback from them? And how do you use it then in order to update your products? And the other question is that you have shown the slide when you're getting a lot of services to be prepared. So how do you test it? How do you develop it? You have the specific focus group you're testing out with your collective, or how do you do that? Well, thank you very much for this question. I will start with the focus group, speaking about the people. So basically, speaking about the IT, then is being tested by the developers. Speaking about the focus groups of the people, then, for example, in COVID certificates for the additional systems, we're choosing the volunteers who are going to be into the testing environment, and we're starting to work the main bugs or the main problems or the systems with them. Right now, we have a lot of inquiries and complaints for Diia about everything, basically about everything. But why that happens? Because people believe that if the COVID certificate is not being shown in Diia, they believe that the Diia is to blame and their address us. But the COVID certificate is a big service as well. First of all, you should have gone to your family doctor. You should have made the right vaccination, and only in this case the COVID certificate is going to be created. And even if you have received the COVID certificate in paper, printed out, and unfortunately it happens in Ukraine as well, it might not be included into Diia because it will not be real, because it will be faked, it will be forged. You know, there are some cases when it can be provided without the real vaccination, and it will not be seen in Diia because there's multiple interconnected systems together. So that is how we're testing it, and we're testing it all with users as well. After the focus groups, we are straight away trying to use all of that, and we're trying to provide this product for the mass usage. Why? Because every day of use is a plus for the people. Even if it's not going to be the most high quality activities, and you can rebuild it all together. How can we do that? If you will open, for example, the Diia app, and if you will get to the final moment of the connection, you will see that there is the feedback form. You can communicate with us into any messages or the chatbot. But for you to understand, the chatbot is not about the computer program. It's about the real people who are sitting there who know the real services. Every service has their own real people, and every day we're basically processing for more than 1,000 or 2,000 simultaneous dialogues that happen in Diia with, this is the first line of support. We believe that the first line of support is just the person who picks up from the other side and tells you for a lot of time, or just says like, okay, I have signed up your question, I will readdress it to someone else. You can write into our chat and you will have the answer straight away. Maybe not straight away because we have a lot of flow in the chat, but we have a real person sitting there, and you have the real opportunity to provide the feedback on every service that you have used. And basically that is all very harsh and complex IT system that lives in Diia to excite the data, to analyze the answers and feedback, to provide the quality and quantity indicators. Everything is being done there. If you have asked, for example, 10 times for the very same service, it has to be approved, or might be a problem with a button or something that hasn't been written in the right way. You can intervene with the work of Diia by just writing us a message of what's something that is inconvenient for you, or something that doesn't work properly. We have a specific development team, dedicated development team who are online in the process, are going to be working on improving the products, on changing the color of the button or line, or making it easier, because I have been using it multiple times. I've addressed my support service. I do not need to write it into the chat. I can actually, go into the neighboring office and say something doesn't work, please improve that. But you can use that with no problems. Yes, okay, thank you very much. We have online questions, please. Yes, we have a lot of questions online. No, let us make just the two the most interesting. Yes, okay, the two most important and strategic questions that are not about improving the service part. The first question from Dmitro Lobanov, and he asks, how do you choose the services that you digitalize? First of all, what are the principles? What do you use? And the second question from Ksenia Shumanska, how do you provide the security of data? Thank you. How do we choose the services? How do we choose the services that will be digitalized in Diia first? There are two aspects to that. First of all, we need to have the readiness for this minister or state enterprise that is responsible for that if we would like to introduce the service. Diia is ready to launch all of the services there, but technically that is a really harsh process, integrating the databases, integrating all of the settings. So all of our systems to be working simultaneously, and for all of our registers to be working simultaneously. It's really hard to set up. It's not just about the technical side, we also have the legal side as well. First of all, we're choosing according to the readiness of the ministries, whether the ministries are ready to provide us with the services. Then we are choosing the urgency, as far as you understand that the COVID certificates are of the higher priority among all of the other services, because the pandemic is now, and people, well, when they wanted to have some mitigation coming on, then people would like to go abroad to have some rest. So yes, you can use that. You can use this COVID certificate straight away. We have rewritten the huge amount of the legislative base, and we have come up with agreement with the different countries that our COVID certificate is acknowledged by the other countries as well. So we got connected to their databases as well and to their legislation, and we got it implemented so we can acknowledge our digital certificates in their countries as well. So we are responding to by the demand of the society and according to the readiness of the state enterprises to participate in Diia. Speaking on the security of the personal data, that is a relevant question. For me as a person who works in Diia, then I'm tracking different types of international trends, so on and so forth. So we have to understand that this is a question of time when all of the personal data of all of the people will be open data. Oh, trust me, to be afraid that someone sees your personal data. Right now you can Google everything. You can Google everyone. If you have been registered as the sole entrepreneur, then basically there's no need for it's very easy to find your telephone number, or it's easy to find your tax code. What do the personal experts on cyber security and personal data say? You should not be afraid of personal data. You should use your personal data wisely, and you should protect your personal data wisely. And for the state to protect and the administrator to protect your personal data. Diia doesn't have your personal data because your personal data are being kept in different registers that Diia receives. People believe that Diia is kind of a source of evil, but no. Your data has always been kept in different registers. It's just that Diia now has the access to those registers, and you are able right now to collect all of the data from different registers in one place. So all this personal data has already been included into registers before, but the Diia app or Diia portal, they have a specific certificate of compliance from our needed institutions. We are constantly developing the new mobile app, and we're developing and adding up the new services for the portal. We're updating our security model as well. It's more of a technical question, but we have the specific certificates from the commissions, although this is a specific certificate that provides the security of the product. You know that we had the bag bounty right now. Last year we have launched this program when everyone with the money that we provide can try to hack Diia. If you succeed, then you will be paid with an award. So right now we have started this campaign from 27th of July to 27th of January last year. We've tried to invite professionals and ITs. So right now each and every one of you can get registers or find the bag in Diia and to receive the real money that will be paid. So please try it out. If you'll be able to do that, that's good. Okay, thank you very much, friends. So this is a good engagement model. Okay, we have time for 3 more questions, please. We had another hand, please, here on the left. Hi. My name is Zhanna Solovyova. I'm coming from Zhytomyr. I represent the organization The Modern Format. First of all, thank you, Kostiantyn. You have basically opened our eyes about Diia even more. In Zhytomyr, we're currently we're trying to launch a business, Diia, and we communicate with Artem Pavlov. But what I have heard from you, and that's that Diia is there to register. I have logical questions, but can you de-register? Can you close your enterprise? Can you close your LLC through Diia? Yes, of course we can do that. But basically when people are closing down the businesses, people do not really like to talk about that. Because I do believe if people, for example, love the businesses, then they go into the state services, that is a good thing. But if they close the businesses because business failed, that's okay, not a good example, and people do not like to talk about that. But yes, you can do that. You can close your enterprise. There will be no problem with that. But the only thing you have to understand that out of practice, I will just tell you that closing your enterprise for the tax office and for the registration, that's 2 complete differences. Yes, I understand. To close your enterprise in Diia, there's no problem of that. You filled it in, and that's okay. But with the tax offices, if you didn't have your taxation paid or whatever. So this is a question of the integration of the taxes officers, and basically so if we're going to dig a little bit deeper to that, the accounts of the treasury, they're changing really frequently, and in order to find your account, you will need to spend half a year. When you have found the place where you should pay your taxes, that's already changed. So I even have my problems with the enterprises, even though they have paid, but they have paid to the wrong accounts, and they cannot close their enterprise right now. So it's all in a complex. When we are making the service in the full scope from the very beginning, from the bank instance, and you're going to be paying it all automatically, and your treasury office will see all of the payments, and the taxation office will see all of the payments because the bank will provide the full right reports, then closing the enterprises will be just the same and easy. There is a very relevant question, and we have launched the pilot project with a couple of the banks, and we do believe that by the end of the year we're going to do that properly. The question with the tax office is really harder because there is about treasury as well, and treasury is a specific organization, the specific accounting there as well, so it's much harder with them, but we're basically dealing with this question as well. Yes, thank you very much, and almost last questions, please, 2 last questions. Good day, my name is Svetlana, and I have this question on Diia. As far as you all know, Ukraine is not fully covered with mobile connection. What can the people and the activists and the citizens do if the Diia doesn't really work on the mobile phones with a mobile connection there? So they cannot get registered, they can do nothing, they cannot show the QR codes, so they need to have it all in paper. A greatest question. Thank you very much. A greatest question. Well, first of all, that's not about the mobile connection, yes, but I do understand what you mean. Right now, the Ministry of the Digital Transformation is discussing the issues because, first of all, we have this full direction, the accessible internet, when we are trying to provide a better internet penetration to these small cities, villages. We are trying to provide the normal internet connection. We're speaking about the high speed and broadcast, high speed and broadwave connection for the schools and the places of the socially important infrastructure. Mobile connection is a private sector. We have no connection to that, but we have sent a memorandum with the mobile operators that they should cover all of the Ukraine, and they're working on this direction. Even if you've had the ride on the metro, then you can see that there is mobile internet in all of the stations of the metro of the Ukrainian underground. Speaking about the coverage of the mobile connections and thus the mobile internet, the overall coverage of Ukraine, then we have had a memo with mobile operators. They're moving into this direction, but I can't say that we can influence them in any way, because it won't be fair if we will say that we will build it up tomorrow. It's quite clear for all of us that they keep on moving to that direction, but there is another side of the medal as well, because the equipment for the mobile operator is way expensive. They buy it in dollars and euros, but the average receipt for the mobile connection is quite low. We have really cheap mobile connection in Ukraine, even though we're paying for around 100 or 200 hryvnias a month, but it's quite cheap still. And the costs of the final receipt for the mobile connection is connected to the welfare of the overall population. It's quite clear that you can ask people to pay more when they don't have the good income as well. So one connects with another, and it's really hard for the mobile operators to build up the really good infrastructure if the terms of its profitability and the returns is quite unclear. So that's not about Diia in this question. Okay, the final question. Who believes that there's a question about the human-oriented design? Diia, it has to be the last question for Kostiantyn. Okay, Victoria, we have had a question from you, but let us ask for the people who haven't spoken yet. Hello, for the Center for the Political and Legal Reforms. My name is Ksenia, and I already have the certificate on vaccination. But the question is from my side today because again, we're speaking about the inclusion today, and the question is about people with disabilities. Have you thought or have you considered in Diia what are the perspectives of additional technical opportunities for Diia so that would be simplified in use for people with disabilities? Yes, thank you. In my story, I have forgotten to tell you, because we all know that we also have the pension cabinet as well, that has been working for quite a long period of time. I have started with this pension cabinet because people with disabilities who are being provided with a pension, there's also a huge amount of people who can use this cabinet to see all of these calculations, the sides of pension and all of that. Even for us, the people without disability and non-pensioners, we should use it because we can see how our employer is paying our unified social payments to that, but it's going to be there. But Speaking on Diia, the pension cabinet, sooner or later, I will just call it as like, the pension services, sooner or later they're going to be included into Diia. And in Diia summit, we're going to be presenting part of those services as well, together with the driver license, together with the students' tickets and the technological passport for the car. We're going to have the pension registration as well, and we will definitely have the certificate of disability as well, of how it's called in the right way, because we understand that people can use the different types of discounts by using that, buying tickets or going through the public transport. There's a lot of things that require the certificate and the acknowledgement of disability. Speaking about some additional, let's put it, the physical obstacles of using this app. So you know that the application is very easy. It's not that much about Diia, but it's about the mobile device that you are using to access Diia. So whether it's going to be the scanning of a finger or a face, whether you're choosing the password of access, you can choose any possible way for you so that the people with disability would be easier to use that, if you meant about that. Okay, thank you, dear friends. We're really grateful to Kostiantyn for your work today and for your today's presentation. Thank you very much, Kostiantyn. Okay, dear friends, we have another person to support you during the next work in the forum. We have two very interesting and two very practical presentations for our beautiful partners and our friends from the Center of the Anti-Corruptional Activities. So we've asked them to share their very interesting experience about how the human-oriented design can help the civil society organizations, all of us, to create the digital advocacy tools that will bring the great results. And we're going to be shared by Alina Denysenko, the head of communication for the Anti-Corruption Action Center, with the example of the Whack the Rating project. So please, Alina, the floor is yours. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to start with saying that this project is already known among the civil society, but we never have spoken about it publicly because, again, our communicational professionals of our center, as we called ourselves the Grey Cardinals, the one that are always behind the curtains. So I think that is going to be the very first time when we're going to be publicly talking about that for the broader audience. So please welcome the Whack the Rating project. I will start with the specific slides from our side just for you to understand what is this project about. Maybe some of the people are already aware about this project. Can you raise their hands if you have known about it? Okay, thank you. So if you are not aware of this project, this is the project that has been mentioned by Alexander Dubinsky very frequently in prime time. It's one of the most known television channels because we have been really bad for him, and that was the way how we have received our PR moment as well. So what do we do with the help of this project? We collect our analysts, our legal professionals, our lawyers and promoters. They following the really important anti-corruption initiatives that take place in the parliament, and if there are some political powers that are preventing those initiatives from being improved, we include them into our database that is called Whack the Rating. If you will click on some of the members of Ukrainian parliament, then you will be able to see the list of these doubtful decisions and resolution this member of parliament has participated, and you can see the same link, the same list on parties. Why have we created this project, and in what way we combine our own goals and the goals of people? We have been based on this idea that we're working for the active audience that really want to influence the government just as well. We want to do that because the government is about the people who work with our taxes, and thus they should feel our impact. And we have been searching for the tools, the resolution that will help the people to do that in the easiest way possible, because we believe that even though people are really active, even though they will be really interested in the politics, but still don't have a lot of time, the easiest way, the easiest decision, resolution for them to have is to do something with the help of a phone, when you're lying on your couch. So we give them this opportunity to do that with the help of our site, and with the help of our project, we give them the opportunity to do that. So what do? First of all, we notify people in our Facebook, and we have a broader audience there. We have the audience of around 300,000 followers. And we have 200,000 people who like us constantly. We are providing them the opportunity that there has been a problem for the parliament. For example, the parliament has voted for some kind of initiative that really stops our anti-corruptional movement and that really stops our anti-corruptional future as a state. And we're asking the people to finance the targeted advertisement on this problem for the constituencies that have voted for this member of parliament, or for the audience who are the voters of this party that has been participating in this doubtful decision to be made. And as you can see in those numbers, we had more than 350 campaigns. We have covered more than 16 million of voters, and we have already collected for these campaigns for 1 million hryvnias in donations. And I just wanted to say that it's a very good level of engagement for our audience that has been very active all the time and very actively responding to our call-outs to provide some donations for those campaigns. What have we chosen as a tools for our work? First of all, we've chosen the Facebook. I'm not going to get into this data. I'm sure that you're aware that this is the most popular social media in Ukraine. So basically, everyone is now speaking about Instagram and TikTok, but we know that the voters are mostly adult people, grown-ups, and they are mostly now located in Facebook. So Facebook is the main platform for us today. Why it is very important for us still? Because the Facebooks give us the opportunity to provide the targeted advertisement. So basically, we clearly understand that our message is going to be seen by the voter of the very specific member of parliament. And what we're doing here, we are also taking our own content, our notification posts, asking people to donate, and spreading the information for the constituencies that have voted for the specific members of parliament. What is very important to note down as well? What have we done already to make this real tool that would be really needed by the people, but not only by us? So we have analyzed, first of all, we've analyzed all of the analytics available for us. As far as you understand, we are the civil society organization. We don't have huge budgets to run the big scale social research and to have these focus groups constantly. So we were mostly oriented for what our platforms provide us with, the Facebook analytics and the MailChimp newsletters. Out of that, we had our important insights of what is the age of our audience, what is their gender, what is their geographical locations, where are they living, and when the time that they use internet, what are the devices that they use, mobile or browsers or web browsers. All of this data we use to build up our own hypothesis on our users and on our target audience. And based on this hypothesis, we have already built up our own communicational strategy just to know what kind of tone of voice we should use for these people and these audiences and how to find them. And thus, correspondingly, we have started working on the next issues. We have started working on improving the way of people to get to reach of our product. Right now, I would like to say that based on what we have said before, you might have already understood that we have the main audiences. We have the MPs, the ones that we're trying to influence. There are the people who were trying to get the information on those MPs, and the third audience that we're constantly working with is basically our donators that give us the money for those campaigns on those deputies that have made the doubtful decisions. We are communicating most with them. We have the most of the feedback for them, and we are constantly in communication with them on the projects. Just to simplify the way to donations at all of the stages, we're trying to make the fewer steps as possible for them on Facebook. We are telling the story of some MP or the political party that have made something out of order. We give the full information on this draft law, and we'll provide in the next link to the site when you can punish this MP by making a donation to advertise this his election. So we're already providing this information at all of the links. We're providing all of the links about more information about the draft laws that they have been voted for. We have this punish buttons, that we will take them into the center of attention for them to be noticed the most. The person pushes and provides the donation starting from 10 hryvnias to punish the MPs, being done through the most comfortable system for the Ukrainians, LitPay, where they can easily support the campaign of punishment. So when we are getting to the main stages, when we have the hypothesis and when we have this hypothesis working, then we should also know how we can improve this hypothesis. How do we do that? That is a quite widespread methodologies like focus groups or additional surveys, and quite banally reading out the comments in the social media. And I would like to really advise you, if you have any products, please read out the comments in social media, because the things that you can hear from people, they might be very obvious for you, but when you're listening to that, you can get it. Like, how could we never thought about that? Because when you're modeling a certain hypothesis, you cannot consider everything straight away. So I will give you an example about that. We had a focus group. We have been applying for the program that has given us the opportunity to have this focus group in place. We have shown the group of women our posts. And what we have heard from them, that they said that we do not really like the words zashkvar, they don't really like the words about that they don't, when they see this words, they don't want to read the message further on. And a lot of people, they have no idea who Dubinsky is, even though we have believed that he's like kind of a face of our campaign and no one has to know who that man is. And after having this focus group, we have tried to, again, amend our posts. When we have been targeting women, we have divided the campaign for men and women. For the women audience, we have given more explanation about the politics, about the system, about the people that can see in our pictures. Even though that men, when they have seen our pictures, they know that, okay, that's Dubinsky, I hate him, and that's a good advertisement, it whatever, it works out for me, like, take my money. The same thing was a revelation for us when, for example, when we have used as an images the state institutions, and that didn't work out for a lot of people, that people have this association that this is as if we are in this moment accusing our state institutions. Ukrainians like the state institution and the symbols of government, but they do like people who are standing behind those state institutions. And that's a very important moment that we have understood from our respondents' response and surveys as well. A lot of people actually rewriting very important comments to us about what we should fill in our messages for the constituencies. And that is why we have created a very important platform for us, that Telegram chat. So we have invited all of the people who donated money to us, and we have had the opportunity to create a very interesting community with them, because people are giving us not just the content that we can miss out. For example, we have been recommended to. It's a very hard question for us of how can we make sure that the voters from the oppositional platforms, that their party does not do whatever that's needed for their best. And we have been recommended with a video of Denis Kazansky, the known journalist, about how Boyko is destroying the factories where the people actually work. And what else? Communicating with our donators has also given us the opportunity to work with Patreon. We've known about this platform, but we never thought that it will be relevant for us. But basically, we have received a lot of feedback from our donators that it will be easier and much more easier for them to spend their money through Patreon. And that is actually goes us to the idea that we should open Patreon as well. So out of all that I've said before, what we wanted to outline, before you open any kind of product, before you launch any kind of product, when you evaluate your resources, you should collect all of the analytics that you might have through all of the available sources for you. And the most important thing for you to be painting this kind of portrait of your audience before that. That's a very famous communicational practice to use. It's better to give the name to this person, to imagine what city this person lives into, to imagine how their day goes, when they go home, when it is important for them to contact your product with. So when you already have your project launch and in action, you will see the improvement of your portrait, and you will have to amend it as well. And there is another moment here that sometimes we might be ignoring some advice of the average people because we would believe that we're more competent, that we have more experience about that. But basically, that's nothing that you should do. And you should not always consider everything and take everything into attention. So you should not take everything on the easy faith, because basically there are some really critically important things that will not fit you and will not fit your idea. And that's very important, especially for the CSOs. It's very important to build up loyalty, for the good and honest feedback. Because you're going to have a lot of people who would really like to criticize you and who would like to take you down. But you will need to find this circle of the people that will not try to flatter you, but that will, in the same time, that will give you some good feedback and some honest feedback that you will be able to use in your work. And in order to do that, our recommendation would be to create a real cool personal platform, so you'll be able to communicate with them, and they will be communicating with you, not with a robot, with a person with a name, and you will be talking as equals. So thank you very much. Those are my conclusions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alina. Good people, do we have some questions? Yes, we have some questions. Okay, can we have the mic to Vintoniv, to Maxim? Yes, please. Good day, my name is Maxim. I'm coming from Vintoniv. There is another question, and I would like to ask you about some ethical moment. Who is the one who identifies what is bad and what is not? So this is about the manager of the project or the board of your organization, any kind of anti-corruptional community. And as a end up to this question, when we had this case, when you have collected money for this bug that has, but you have said altogether, but you understood that it was not a fail, and maybe we can forgive that, or no? I would like to answer the last question. No, it never happened. We have a big organization. We have a lot of lawyers and advocacy lawyers who follow all of this agenda in Ukraine, and they are following all of the anti-corruptional projects. And they have a lot of expertise, and they identify what is the fail and what is not the communication people. We can only deal with that communicational moments. We can only advise them how to communicate that properly. Okay, thank you, friends. Can we have more questions? Yes, we have questions online. Hello. Yes, we have the questions from our online participants from Ksenia Szymanska. Alina, how do you improve the quality of your work for the people whose work you analyze? For example, for the MPs, how do you explain that your work is valuable? You know, I think that basically that they see that on their own, because they see that with the coverage how the posts are, what the response the posters have, and I've forgotten to tell that, but basically, how do we see that? How do we see that we're being seen by the MPs? Because they respond with their posts on their Facebook pages. Of course, they're being very angry sometimes, but part of the MPs that come into the social media to Vitaly Shabunin, and they're also expressing their own points of view on the specific draft law. But I would like to tell you that there are some MPs who are really sincerely or remorseful about what they have done. because they haven't analyzed this draft law in the right way, and they have just listened to somebody else's opinions or whatever. So there is an influence on that, and we have seen that in their response as well. Okay, so we will have the last question, please. Maybe I haven't been very attentive, but what is the term of your project where you work? So just for me to understand, because you work on raising the awareness of the voters, as far as I understand. So do you have the opportunities to track whether the awareness has changed from elections to elections? So how can you measure the results? Yes, this is a very hard thing for us to measure, because we need to have the specialized research to do that, and we have to ask people directly of what has influenced your choice. But our project was going to last for 3 years already, and we have covered the previous elections, and we have seen that 2/3 of those people who we have made campaigns about have not been included into this assembly of the parliament. And what is another moment was not about the quantity, but a maybe more subjective measurement, because in our house we have been reading frequently the people from the regions. They say, like, I have never seen a thing about this for this MP. Thank you very much for informing us about that. And on this level we see that our work is of the value. It really works. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Alina, for the greatest presentation. Thank you. Thank you. I will get back to the main phrases of how you can collect the feedback. So you can see that the messenger of Vitaly Shabudin can be a good way to collect the feedback. But okay, let us talk about that more as well, because when we're speaking about the human-oriented design and human-oriented approach, we're always speaking about the need to collect the feedback from our clients, from the people we're working for. So dear friends, do you collect the feedback from your audiences? Yes. Okay, good. How do you do that? What are the tools that you use that for? The surveys, okay. The different types of questionnaires, okay, the feedback questionnaires and feedback forms. Okay, thank you very much, friends, for those responses, because basically with all of our partners, what we are always talking about is talking about the feedback. We're really happy that one of our friends, our partners, will be able to share with you today on how can you use the feedback to create the attractive and socially important content. So we're really happy to have here with us on our final partner presentation. We're really happy to invite Roland Vintoniv, the journalist and the TV host from Toronto Television today. Good day. Thank you very much for the invitation. It's basically, I'm not going to have any kind of revelations, I think, today. So basically, my presentation would be can be ended up to one word. Let's just use the feedback. Thank you for attention. Any questions? No, but basically I only have 3 slides for my presentations. In this presentation, they're not some kind of a really genius or whatever. They're not going to be a big revelation for you. But basically, as far as we are also content makers, we understand that the interest of the audience is our main goals. We have to have a clear understanding what our audience needs. And basically, in some way, it can be then tracked to, and they're making photos with kind of like ideal thoughts, there's nothing new about that, your audience, this is something as old as the world. I know, make the photos, of course, make the photos, but tracking the main goals of your audience, your interest of your audience is the main thing that you have to know. So sometimes you have to update it in some way and to change your goals, because when you're working with one audience and one constituency, then there's one interest of that. When you have more people joining you, then the interest might change, or it might be floating to different directions and different priorities. We have to always be targeting those interests. The working process and working on our mistakes is once again nothing super original. Creating content, seeing the results and making the amendments, and there's all the time in cycles, all the time around the audience interest. So there's nothing really a lot of super new about that. So we're making our content based on the interest of the audience. So we are starting from the very beginning. We know that there is an interest of the audience. We know what they need. We started the content. Sorry. From the very, very, very beginning, we have started with the hypothesis that we wanted to do what we needed at this very moment. That was the very beginning of the Toronto Television. The three founders, we have been coming from the media. We've left media, and we decided to do that because we have really been tired of working on the mythical portrait of the television audience and what we really wanted to do. We didn't really like what this audience needed. We wanted to make something that was much more interesting for us. We were like around 30 years old by that time, and we wanted to do that, and it turns out that a lot of other people have interest in that as well. Then we have understood that we are being oriented on the quite bad direction. We've been oriented on our own interests, but it turned out that a lot of people like that, and a lot of people have interest in that. That is how we gained our first audience, and then we have gained this audience. We have created something, take a look at what was the result, read the comments, understood whether it liked it, or created something new, understood that it didn't work out. So, okay, we understood that we have to dig in another direction. So this is the constant process that has been held there for 7 years already, and that gives us the opportunity to understand why should we go to, which direction we should not go, or where we should go to. So it's a constant process that is repeated constantly, and it's not some kind of a new thing. So we're starting with a hypothesis, as it always goes. Our hypothesis was to do something that we like. You can use any other hypothesis. Even if it will not work out from the very beginning, based on science, that's the coolest thing to do. You have received the results where you should not go to. That's cool, because now you know that there's nothing there that you need. So you have to go into other direction. That's very good as well. So when we have created this content on the first interest of the audience, as we believe that, we have seen what are the results. We have made some amendments to that as well. And our surveys has really helped us, that we have done together with PACT, in our partnership with PACT. That was really cool for all of us because we have tracked some of the hypotheses that we've had. We are talking out with our audiences. We are checking up with their response all the time. We're reading out through all of the comments. We're answering a lot of comments. A lot of resources are being dedicated to communicate with our audience, because we might have a couple of thousands comments at our next show. It gives us the opportunity to track the mistakes that we haven't outlined before. So basically, those are the main results that we do. So, this is the top screen is about the social media, the YouTube and Facebook. The Facebook has started from, you see, plus 27 subscribers from September to September, Instagram plus 16, and YouTube is 58,000 subscribers. This is our Patreon throughout all of the time. So you can see we haven't made Patreon for quite a long time, and a lot of people have said, like, how can we donate? When will you have this moment for donation? We've never done it, but then we've made a Patreon then, and everything has really burst out. We will never believe that. On 1 to 3 months, we had $5,000 a month. And this $5,000 a month, that was something that we've had because one of our subscribers, she really wanted to donate this $2,000 a week, and she subscribed to this $2,000 a month, and she signed up in April, but then she made up a smaller amount but we have collected the same amount. So we've met her because we have falling on the floors when we have $2,000. Someone has subscribed, and we're like, lying for 2 days, and like, maybe we should check, maybe that's a mistake. We have seen all together. On summer, you have seen a little bit of downfall then in August, September, but then we have seen that all as well. We go into the vacation during the summer. We do not generate the new content for almost 2 months, and we do hope that will be getting better. Right now, we have more than $9,000 a month in Patreon. Patreon takes 10%, around 10% on different commissions, and around 20% what we're paying in taxes in Ukraine. So minus 30%, so that would actually be $7,000. That is something that we have after the taxes. So that's all from my side. 3 slides, as I promised. 1, 2, 3. Without this, this is add on. So, but if you'll have some questions, I think that will be much better for you because, you know, I was honest. I don't have like something super original that you will not be able to find in the internet. So please, if you have some questions, I will gladly take those. Hi, my name is Victoria. I'm coming from Cherkasy. Please, can you tell us who is the main audience for you right now? Because I've been watching you for quite a long time already. I sometimes believe that I've already gone too old, and I think that you've turned out to the youngest audience. And once again, how do you find this line when you're following the audience or following your own interests, or whether it takes you aside, or maybe you're feeling that we want to do this, but it won't be interesting for the audience. So how does the audience change as well? Well, you know, our audience right now, the audience that we have is around starting from 18 to 34. It's not like the main audience are just the most active audience based on the other demographical groups. You know, sometimes I believe I'm too old for them and for some young people. But you are right in saying that sometimes some of the programs there are different from one another. Depends on the week. But we are getting to the younger audience because we do not want to leave them to leave them for some kind of, pro-Russian or Russian directions. We want to get them engaged into this right directions with those ideas that we believe to be right. And this is a very hard question about when the audience gives you already tells you what you should do and what you should do. We're trying to work in this as well, but we will not be able to get out of it. As a content producers, we depend on that. The interest of our audience is our main direction to keep on moving further on. So if the audience is interested in comics or comic books, we can tell them about the, judicial reform as a comic. So this is how we use in the interest of our audience, and this is how it works for media and everywhere. The interest of the audience, our goals, that's like that. It works just the same thing as for, the nutrition, maybe just for the vitamins or the medication not to be that harsh, then you have these really fruity coatings. This is how we trick one another. Okay, thank you very much, dear friends. More questions to come? Questions from online, yes. Yes, I have a question about the financial independence of Toronto TV. The question from Dmitry Lobanov. What is the share from donors and audience, and what is the main basis of the financial independence? The donor support. The donor support is our basis and foundation. We were really ambitious to take it down, but then we have come to one important lecture that has been supported by the donors. Not lecture, but it was a kind of event like you have today, when the American independent media has shared their experience as well, and they have been sharing their experience and what they have gained throughout this decades of years, and they have told us that the independent media will not be able to become self-reliant. So basically, they're working on the offline events, donor support, their own activities, any kind of charitable activities, so on and so forth. And we have become quite okay with that, and we have understood that it's much better for us. So we're not that kind of losers as we used to believe ourselves to be before. Right now, with the donor support and donation support, we have been developing the advertising support for businesses. We have Patreon, and I think that we receive most as a YouTube channel of Patreon in Ukraine. I don't know, we used to be like that, but maybe there's someone already winning over us. We cannot include it into our budget. Our main task number one that we have caught up to by the end of the new season, just for us to have our own studio, because it will help us to provide more content, and based on content you can already monetize the content and so on and so forth. So what we decided that all of the money we will accumulate from our subscribers and from our commercial collaboration. So we are gathering all of this money to have our own studio. This is going to be something, this is going to be our buffering fund when we're going to have the gap with our donor support. Well, we're covering that from there as well. One third, something more than 1/3 of our production has been covered with our own money. Okay, not our own money, but the money of our subscribers and some money that we have engaged from money. This idea works. We don't want to budget it for the future, but we see that working. You know, we can't really believe that we have gotten to the advertising and we're doing something with advertisement already. Okay, thank you very much, dear friends. You have a chance for the last questions, please. Hello. I would like to have a following question, because in our program you said that about this feedback of the users in order to create the attractive content. Can you give us a couple of examples of some kind of the feedback of commands that helped you to make some really cool content for the Toronto Television? It's hard for me to identify one case, because basically, you know, in 1 week we might have even like 5,000 commands under one show. So basically, working with the commands, it's a specific direction of our work. We monitor it, and it can be the source for our next show. So we have 5 or 8 blocks in our each show each week. That might be some kind of new track or new band, or might be the link for a video that the audience has shared with us that we should see. But usually what we are searching in the commands is how people find what they have seen, what they have watched. So this is the question we're trying to answer with that. That is the most important for us, and it helps us to create the following content, the next content, considering these issues. So this actually helps us all the time to have basically the good statistics for us. There's a good selection. They have told us like, do you like it? They were reading it out. Okay, so maybe we should do something in a different way. They didn't understand this moment. Not like they understood this and do, but there's a lot of commands that is something I wasn't that clear. Or there's a lot of commands that was like, wow, cool, great that you have mentioned that. So this is basically the feedback for something that you have already made. For the new materials and for the new reports, it's not like we're waiting for that to give us our next commands, like give us information about what to do in the next videos, in the next episodes, because we monitor internet a lot, the news content, we're listening a lot. So I think that this is something that gives us the opportunity to be the first to raise some of the topics, important topics in Ukraine, so someone that has never raised before due to different reasons. I think that in Ukraine we are the ones that are watching the regional media. Most of all, we are monitoring like 200 regional media, and we are watching them on a weekly basis. Like for example, in the morning, like know how my day starts, Lviv news, and like for example, in the next 24 hours for today. And you're watching for this like videos, you have watched through that, okay, Ivano-Frankivsk news or Prikarpaty news, and that's how you go with every region. So you have watched all of that for today, you know, then you're doing something new. So this is the same thing that's going on YouTube, Lviv, news for today. So like this is how we're working on that. So this is my part of work. For example, the other guys, and they also have another part of work, so they are monitoring the specific like YouTube channels for these regional content makers. They have some people who really like people who make it. So there's a lot of contact we're tracking. So sometimes we are now the first from what was happening. I think that's our unique product. So this is something that we're really proud of, and we are really happy about that. Okay, let us have one more question. One more question from here, said he. We had a question here. We had a question here and hand here. Well, we can sit on together then later on. Yes, Serhiy Mikalik from the Anti-Corruptional Headquarters. So to be influential is about being seen on some kind of the rating television. Have you seen the collaboration about that? Because I know that you have been seen at Suspilna and you have been shown. So are you would like to collaborate with them, or maybe people are offering you collaboration and you refuse that? So whether you would like to be on a TV channel? I don't know that being influential is to be mentioned on the television. You'll be having more views. You'll have more support. Now it's just like it seems like that. It seems like that. That's what it seems. But basically, when you are, for example, at the first buttons of Ukrainian television, you have some commitment to the owners, for example. This is one part of it. The other part of it is that the television has lost its position, as you know, it's lost its monopoly for the audience. If before that, around 10 years ago, you might have said that, like, if you have a show at 1+1 or at Intel television, I don't know, or on the STB or any other channel in Ukraine, and everyone knew who you are, and you knew that perfectly, that you will be, you bought a video there, like, you're the king of the world for the next 6 years, no one will touch you. But right now, the ratings of the television have downfallen strongly. Even the number of the audience that watches TV has downfall as well. The internet is the new rule. Everyone is in the internet. Even if you're on the internet, everyone is watching in the smartphones, not just in the laptop or on the tablets. You have to be in the mobile devices. You don't have to be on the TV if you're on the internet. So there's a gap. There's a gap between this understanding between the youngsters and the adults, because they don't have a lot of in common. Before that, everyone was synchronizing through television. Right now, there's nothing in common. Celebrities, movies, text, everyone is so diverse, and that will be the problem for us as well. That one we have to. We'll resolve in that, how to synchronize parents with children. I don't know. So maybe living room or the street will be the common spaces for them. But I know common memes or common archetypes, there's fewer and fewer of those, because basically there is a very highly diversified types of receiving your information. The television does not cover our indicators. Our indicators are really just the same of the indicators of the television. We're not ready, for example, to follow the editorial policies of some television channels, and they will not do that, because tomorrow we're going to be making jokes about their owner, the friends of their owners. We will cover all of the hands, so let us close our session with a Q&A session with that. Okay, G'day. I have tried to write this question in YouTube. We're deleting it, yes. But something prevents me for that, but maybe I will ask you it right now here. So, do you have a goal or the value of your organization as the media? I think that they have to be there, because, the donors, they will not provide it as an empty space when they provide some granting support. And then the question there is, so when you are creating the content, whether you follow in your mission, goals and aims, how do you then filter this content based on your values and priorities, and whether you filter the advertisement based on your values? Thank you. Yes, of course, we have the values that has been written in statutes. That is more than formality for us. One of our goals and aims and tasks is let's put it this way, we're really sensitive. We're really sensitive to building critical thinking, which is very important for us. What we understand under that we always have to be those who are helping people to see that there are other points of views. There's always other points of views to any issues that is there. Why is that important? Because it helps out with communication. Society is only society when there is connection between the different groups, when there is communication with different groups. Doesn't mean that they have to drink together or be friends. They have to communicate. They have to communicate, that they'll be able to communicate only when they see that there are multiple points of view to different questions. And to have the prevalence of one point of view is really bad for the society, is harmful for the society, because society starts to fall apart or start to be developing in the slowest pace. And then you have yours and you have the others. So it's very, very bad. But we are supporting the dialogue. Critical thinking gives you the good doubts, gives you the opportunity to ask the question why, of what are your reasoning. So this is something that we are always considering, to give the new information to us as well. Because this is the, not to say the long-time desire for someone to dominate the media field, to edit it, to dominate on it. And our task is to guarantee and to show everyone that we are not owned by anyone. We're not being controlled by the businesses. We're not being controlled by the state. So those are our rules. This is how we work. We support the freedom of speech. We support the democratic values. And we really want everyone to be treated according to the law and according to the rules of the games currently available. These are our rules, and this is something that we declare constantly. And on one hand, this is our weakness, because sometimes it's harder to find some kind of financial support. But in the same time, speaking on the physical security, this is our shield. Because when someone disagrees with us, for example, personally with me, then everyone knows that this is my personal point of view, and it's always argumented, it's always reasoned why. And everybody knows that no one has paid anything to us to make us say something. So, all the politicians know that, because we are criticizing everyone in the same amount. So we have been, laughing out on politician X, and then the X and that are laughing by the Y politician. So we are laughing on all of the politicians. When the politicians asked us to do the advertisement, that was like 5 years ago. So we have agreed to that. Yes, okay, we will make some advertisement for you, but these are our rules. And at the very beginning of the advertisement, we're going to say this is advertisement. This has been paid. Like, for example, attention, the political party has paid us for that, and they will be just the same. Okay, they didn't fit for them. So basically, when now we are selecting the commercial collaborations, and when we're selecting the people who would like to work on a commercial basis, we do not with any kind of alcohol producers or cigarette producers. When McDonald's asked us, we were not able to help them with advertising their product because we have been providing the promo for their charitable foundation. So, that was kind of, half and half, but we cannot promote some bad habits. So we not advertise something that is connected to Russia and Russian money. Unfortunately, we will forced to refuse Kyivstar, because basically we understand that this is half a year of the financial support, but that was money from Russia, and we do not work with that. So there are some rules where, we don't promote gambling. We had experience with gambling at the very beginning in 2019. At the very beginning of our advertising activities, we tried it out, and we understood that no. We had a Paris match collaboration, I think, and we've tried it for once time, and we've tried it out, and we never worked with them, any kind with gambling or bets. That's all. So yeah, that's we have the white list, we have the black list of the advertisers gave it. That's it. Wanted to clarify, but what about the content? Because for me, as for the audience of your show, I have been watching for quite a long time, I have a feeling that you have taken from the value-oriented content, that you have switched to the entertaining content. Well, right you are. We had made it as a conscious choice because we would like to cover a bigger audience in this case. So when we have 100,000 subscribers, I think we have got the maximum of the audience that you could engage with a value-oriented content. We have understood that whatever it is that you're doing, the value of the media is about its audience. And we have changed the proportion. So the values are the same for us. We don't have them that much expressed in the content, but we have grown the audience. And the same values that we practice slightly, not that frequently in time, but we can still broadcast it to the audience. And yes, right you are, we have lost some of the people that what they have been expecting from us, from what they came from the very beginning. We're really sorry about that. We remorse it. They watch us, but they watch us not that frequently as they did. But this kind of approach gives us the opportunity in the critical moment to guarantee the coverage of the critically important messages for the society. So basically, when we have 100,000 subscribers and some 100,000 reach, then we'll be able to provide this critically important message to the 100,000. But when we have 500,000, 5 times better reach, so we have to keep the connection with this audience, because we know that when, the most important time will have to go, like you have to engage into the vaccinations or whatever, then we will be able to do with the vaccination, and we're going to be already working with those people who are, didn't get vaccination, not because the doctors have told them not to, but because, that's going to be a chip under your skin or something like that. I can see that working on the magnetic fields. So basically, yes, that is our job, to provide the critically important messages to the broader audience. For this, when the critical moments for the development of the society, we can be easily engaged and cover the most of the audience with the right message. In order to do that, we will not be able to do that if we will not support our contact with the audience regularly. We will not be able, to provide 100,000 channel with advertisement and to cover 500,000. It won't be working. It will work in figures, but right now we're mostly directed on providing the right messages. Thank you, Roman, for your work and for your today's presentation. Thank you. And our first working part is now ended. I would like to thank Roman again for him giving us the practical example and has reminded us those basics of human-oriented design and human-oriented work, that we have to constantly monitor in the environment we're working on, that we should not think that we know our audience the best because they're just like we are, that we have to study them constantly, study their needs, and to find this important balance between the needs of the audience and what we really like and what we really want to do. And that is what we're going to be discussing in the second part of our forum. And right now we're going to finalize our video broadcasting. Thank you very much for being with us on Facebook. Thank you very much for being with us online, for your active participation and asking the question. And dear friends, the ones who are today in this room and who's going to be continuing to work with us in Zoom in the second part of the forum, we will see each other back at 3 o'clock. If you have any questions, you can ask us in the Telegram channel of our forum. Please keep in mind it is available, or you can ask at the registration table. All of the technical issues will be resolved there. And dear friends, again, 3 o'clock sharp, we'll meet here and we will be talking about the development of the joint innovative ideas for the change. We'll have lunch while the cover break was, and you will be able to use the terrace from the site. And I would like to ask you, even during the break, please keep in mind the safety measures. Try to use sanitizers, try to keep distance, and please use masks, especially those nice that you will find in your bags. See you back at 3 o'clock. Thank you very much for your attention.